Hi, and welcome everybody to the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners regular session on Wednesday, May 14th. Nice to see our full board here. Hope everyone's doing well and everyone who's joined us today in person. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda, Kara?
No additions or deletions.
Okay. And I will, before we move on, normally public comment is always for items on the agenda that are not already listed for public comment. I think we have some folks in the room here who may want to make public comment on an item that's not identified as listed for public comment. So I want to just check in with my fellow board members on item number 3, which is our resolution related to the entrance to Aspen Record of Decision. This is an informal resolution. We don't ordinarily take public comment on it. It is our prerogative whether to open that up or not. And since we have folks here, I wanted to see if that is something you all might be willing to do.
I'd like to.
Okay. All right, so for folks who are here and interested in commenting on the entrance to Aspen resolution, I would ask that you do those public comments when we discuss that item at that time, and I will call you up and ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. So now I will invite the public to address the board for public comments for items that are not listed for public comment on today's agenda or any matter of general interest. Please come on up, state your name, and you will have 3 minutes.
Joe Wells, Castle Creek Caucus. Beetle kill seems to be proceeding unabated on the Aspen Mountain side of our valley. This may be an issue that you're working diligently on, but the general public is unaware of that. If I believe if that's the case, I would truly encourage you to get some professionals involved in the issue to see if anything can be done to slow this down. The answer may be there's nothing that can be done, but I'd like to hear that from a professional. It's not just an ecological issue in my mind or an aesthetic issue. I see it as a threat to property owners' ability to get insurance and hang on to that insurance, notwithstanding the dramatic increase we're all facing on insurance. But I would like to encourage you to do more than I can observe that you're doing on this issue. So thank you very much.
Can I ask Joe a question?
That input, Francie.
Are you talking about pine beetle or spruce beetle?
I just see the dead evergreens on the Aspen Mountain side, and I'm not sure what's killing them. I have my own spruce trees sprayed every year, but you know, that's just a handful of trees compared to what's being killed up on the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my property lost some spruce trees, and that's why I was wondering if maybe it was the spruce tree.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, real quick, I just don't know ownership, so we need to follow up on that. Is it forest, is it ski company, is it multiple private entities? So, because we have our boundaries, we can't just go on somebody's property, but I think it's something we may, if it's forest, maybe they've already done some investigation, or ski company I know is looking at stuff, so we could look into that and then follow up with Joe. It'd be great.
When I called the Forest Service about our spruce tree, they referred me to their one tree person who's in Granby, and so that's what happened when I looked into it.
Is that person still in Granby? We don't know, okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
So I would follow up with Angie Davlin at the Wildfire Collaborative, and also follow up with Paul Holzinger at OST. Both have been doing packets and stapling them to trees, so they're
Pheromones?
Pheromones, so
Just chase them to another tree. Spraying is a better way to do it, but.
Are there other public comments from members of the public? Come on up, Ward. Hi.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Ward Hollenstein. I'm a resident of Aspen, which is situated in Pickens County. And
No.
I wanted to add some context here at a high level that has been concerning me and I think a lot of our community. It starts off with federalism versus states' rights, and that usually the definition of conservatism is that you don't want the federal government to be involved in local issues. And this goes back to Jim Crow and a lot of issues. It comes back to the assumption of the national debt in 1789, but that established a strong federal government. But I'm here because the rules seem to have been changed, and that federalism now seems to be that the federal government wants to get into every aspect of our lives. And we've witnessed it just recently with the Forest Service, the number of people that are available to help out on Maroon Lake. And Aspen and Pickens County are both home rule governments. That means that we are concerned, we as a community and me personally are concerned with keeping the most control over our government and the actions of our government as it applies to the people. And that what I've seen in the beginning of this administration is that the community values are not reflected by the values of the federal government. That they're not interested in greenhouse gas reduction. They're not interested locally or in the United States with mass transit, buses. They're not interested in decreasing the single-use, single-seat vehicle use in the county or the city, and that they want to override local control. So I'm calling this neoconservatism because it's a 180-degree flip of what classic conservatism used to be. In that I want to just warn the county commissioners to try to reduce the opportunity for the federal government to get a foot in the door on any of the issues that concern Pickens County, both unincorporated Pickens County and also for the city, that they're really interested in reducing federal spending, and that reflects on issues that directly affect Aspen, Pickens County, the Roaring Fork Valley, including the entrance to Aspen. So what I'm here to say is, please don't give the federal government a chance to control Pickens County and Aspen's transportation future and environmental impacts. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ward.
Thanks, Ward. Thanks for coming in.
You must have practiced your timing on that.
Yes.
He's
And
a
again-
pro. He's a pro.
These are for items not listed for public comment on today's agenda or the record of decision, which we will discuss shortly. Yes, comment. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Megan Ruby. I am a full-time county resident. I strongly support a county resolution for a reevaluation of the PA. County needs additional
So
infrastructure.
we're gonna get to that when we approach the item. We're not quite there yet on our agenda. No problem, Megan, but I'm so glad you're here.
But you're prepared.
Sorry, we'll get through our consent agenda and then we'll do commissioner comments, consent agenda, and then we'll get to that. Are there other public comments for items not on the agenda? Hi, Tony.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, my name is Tony Kronberg, and I wanted to remind everyone and let the public know that tomorrow, the Elected Officials Transportation Committee is meeting in Snowmass at 4 p.m., and the topics of discussion on the agenda, which are pretty exciting, is the RAF to Zero Fare, the pilot program from Aspen all the way down to Rifle. The second one is the Highway 82 West Aspen Transportation Needs Update, otherwise known as the entrance to Aspen. And as you know, no decisions have been made by Aspen City Council whether they're going to do a re-eval or a new EIS. And tomorrow, Jacobs Engineering is going to be presenting like the mid-stage of where they are in the studies. And then the next thing is the permanent automatic vehicle counters, was a really important piece of information. And then the Roaring Fork Transportation Coalition is also going to do a presentation. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of it. That's the first time, I think, in 6 months that the EOTC has met, actually 8 months, I think. So this is a great opportunity. Again, the meeting starts at 4 o'clock, Snowmass Town Hall.
Great, thank you, Tony.
Can I make a quick?
Thank
I just want the public to know that as much as I'd like to be at the EOTC meeting tomorrow, because there's a lot of great information, it'll be videotaped, and I will watch it. But I will be in Denver accepting an award for the restoration of our beautiful county courthouse. So, again, I'm sorry I'm going to miss all the excitement in Snowmass tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Thanks, Patty. All right, any other public comment? Is there anyone online? Yes, come on up. And this, again, this is not yet for the record of decision.
I heard you.
Okay.
I just wanted to follow up on what Joe said about the beetle.
Yes.
You may want to check with ski company, because I think that whole band is a fur beetle coming across from Bingo and across the mountain and into Castle Creek. I've been told it's a fur beetle.
And just your name for the record.
Kirk, K-I-R-K,
Okay.
Gregory, G-R-E-G-O-R-Y.
Perfect,
Thank you.
Did you have him as a teacher?
Okay, any other public comment? All right. We don't always get a lot of public comment, so I really appreciate you all coming today and providing that for us. All right, let's move on to commissioner comments. Patty?
I just want to warn people that the temperatures are supposed to be dropping tonight, tomorrow, and I think on the next day. And then Monday, we're supposed to be getting snow. There's a chance of snow. So for all of you who were so eager for summer and spring that planted your pots or your gardens, you're going to need to bring in your pots if you can, or cover the ones that you put in the ground, or you're going to be replanting everything soon. And at the cost of what plants are costing this year, you don't want to be doing that. So please pay attention to the weather for the next 4 or 5 days. And just any weather really below 40, you should start covering, especially tomatoes. They don't like it that cold. So thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Yes, Francie.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I heard a terrible report on Gaza on my way to work this morning, and it's really desperate over there, and they're on the verge of famine. And when I compare that to our lifestyle here in the Roaring Fork Valley, it's really hard to sort of grasp that both of these things can be possible. So I just wanted to express my concern about Gaza and my sadness for the people who live there. And the flip of that, of course, is the joy of living here.
All right, not seeing any other comments here, so we will go ahead and move to the consent agenda. We have 2 items, the minutes of April 23rd and a resolution regarding an abatement petition for Warren D. Nelson. I guess I just have a question about this abatement petition. I think staff from the assessors are here. If the board doesn't mind, I'd like to pull that.
Please.
So would you like a motion to approve the minutes
I
for the
would.
23rd?
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Francie. Any further comment on the minutes of April 23rd? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so regarding this abatement petition, this one is a little funky. And I guess I just was wondering a couple things about it. So the recommendation of the hearing officer is to not make any adjustments to it, as I understand the reading of
Yeah, it was
this.
an abatement, and it was actually scheduled for a hearing. The gentleman did not show up for the hearing. We rescheduled again, and no show on the second hearing. So that's
Okay.
kind of just where we're at right now.
And then the year for this was a 2021 abatement request. What is the time, how far back can you go and request an abatement for?
So you can go 2 years back. So depending on when they file, it's 2 years farther back.
Okay, so this person filed in 2023 for 2021.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, thanks for the clarification. This just seemed odd. to me. Anyone have any other questions for staff?
No, I thought that was interesting too, just the time frame and the failure to respond, thinking he'd already been denied, so he didn't show up or he didn't respond and clarify that, so.
Yeah, so
That's pretty much
we
what
reach out, yeah, we reach out and we just say, hey, the second level would be where he gets to just explain his case, just kind of the Zoom call. So we reach out, we schedule it with the clerk. During that, if they don't show, we try to give them a call during it. We say, hey, we're in the meeting right now, and we can buzz you in, if you will. And we didn't get anything. We reached out a few more times and, gave them a few chances to respond. And our office is always open too. So if he wants to discuss the matter more, we're happy. We're here. So, yeah.
And you are with the assessor's office?
I am. I'm an appraiser in the assessor's office.
And your name is?
Taylor Melinek.
So we get it on the record.
Yeah.
You're on the record now,
Tell Mr.
Taylor.
Warren he's welcome to come visit me anytime he
I
wants.
just wanted to make sure you
Yeah.
knew you were on the record. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
I'll make a
Other
motion.
questions? Yep, Patty, or Francie, go ahead, thanks.
I'll make a motion to
Thanks,
approve the
Taylor.
resolution regarding an abatement petition by Warren D. Nelson upon recommendation by the hearing officer.
Second.
Thank you, Francie. Thank you, Greg. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, now we are moving on to individual consideration items. Item number 3, a resolution of the BoCC endorsing the reevaluation of the entrance to Aspen record of decision and its supporting environmental impact statement. And we have our Director of Public Works, Brian Pettit, and County Engineer Andrew Knapp. Nice to see you both. Sorry I've missed your presentations while I was on vacation last week.
That's okay. Thank you for having us. We're going to load Andrew's presentation. I'm Brian Pettit, I'm the Public Works Director.
And Andrew Knapp, the county engineer.
Great. Kelly, the last time we talked to the board is April 8th, and we had this very same presentation to show you all. And at that time, the board directed staff to create a resolution and bring it back to a regular meeting, and that's why we're here today. Do you want us to go through that presentation again?
I think we should, particularly because we're going to accept public comment on this, and this will be the last time we hear it. There's not another reading on it.
That's right. Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure before.
And we don't have a super packed agenda today, so I'm not rushing everybody along.
Great. We'll take some time to set this up then.
Apologize, I haven't done this in a minute. I forgot to turn
I
on the
need to
speaker
go,
laptop.
But I think we have time.
So at 8 o'clock, when we're still here, do we blame you?
Yes, yes.
It's gonna go really fast because we have Andrew from IT here, so it's gonna be magic.
No pressure.
And just so folks know, we will hear the presentation, take questions from commissioners, and then I'll open for public comment. And after public comment, we will take a vote on the resolution.
House, aren't they pretty? The trees are just gorgeous. Crab apple? With no crab apples. Really? That's weird. I was just showing Rye pictures of the crabapple trees
Thank you.
this
for
year, and
putting
he
it
said
in
his
the
did a little bit. The
video.
trees this year,
So that-
I know, are huge. Mine at home are
Little
just
awkward last time.
unbelievable. The wind doesn't rip them apart in the next couple of days.
I know he works,
All right, we're just having a little tech.
and he's also. the
Moment.
brother of my son. Before, when he was applying, he actually went to my daughter Sierra and said, "Do you think I'll have time to be able to leave?"
Mother's Day.
That's how I
If it's helpful, do you want to email it to me and I can share or anything like that?
I'm just getting into the Zoom meeting. I've got the presentation
Crazy
up.
busy.
Great.
Just waiting for Zoom to launch.
We can turn this on. Okay.
I had both boys, it was great.
We're just having a moment of silence in here. Come on in.
We were waiting for you.
Moment of silence for the tomatoes
Jeffrey,
that
did
are planted.
you, Jeffrey, did you get that NACO Public Lands? I sent it to your email.
Thank you.
I hope I
Right.
sent it.
I don't know, we can celebrate off-season where traffic does not look like this
Oh,
every morning.
Such a great drive in this morning.
Great, well, thank you for your patience, appreciate that. And as a reminder, we were requested by the board to bring this to the April 8th work session, which we did. We created a resolution at the direction of the board that's in the packet today that is under consideration for adoption. But having said that, I do want to remind the board that while we're looking for this resolution to be signed today, the authority over the record of decision and the entrance to Aspen rests with CDOT and FHWA. The county and the city's involvement is through MOUs that are part of the record of decision. But yet, the county has some decisions that can be made, even though we don't have direct influence over that authority. And that's the purpose of the resolution, is just to give some guidance from Pitkin County as a whole.
Can we just define FHWA for the public?
Yeah, that's the Federal Highway Administration. Thanks, Patty. So there's been some renewed interest in the entrance to Aspen, and that's what we want to talk about. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Andrew.
So just want to recap, for everyone's awareness, the foundation of any environmental impact statement and subsequent record of decision is the purpose and need statement. And in February of 1995, the Aspen City Council agreed to 10 project objectives, and then subsequently they developed the purpose and need for the entrance to Aspen EIS. And they're shown here, and I'll just read the need statement because reading through it, I was thinking, this could have been written last week. The capacity of the existing transportation system is insufficient during peak periods. Safety, clean air, the visitor's experience, and the residents' quality of life are compromised. And then the project intent is below. I won't read that, but that is to help provide context for the need and guidance. So in addition, as was stated before, there were the 10 community goals that were used as the screening criteria for all the alternatives as part of the environmental impact statement evaluation. And I'll quickly go through those. The community-based planning, transportation capacity, safety, and environmentally sound alternative, community acceptability, financial limitations, Clean Air Act requirements, emergency access, livable communities, and phasing. Again, I looked through these and I think they could have been written last week with the exception of number 7 there, the Clean Air Act requirements. Fortunately, the city of Aspen is now an attainment area for air quality, where when this was written, it was not meeting air quality requirements. And the emergency access community goals, I think, has taken on a slightly different context as when this was written. The importance of emergency egress due to wildfire. So the importance of emergency egress for wildfire potentially sweeping through the valley, I think has, been shown to be greatly important. And when this was written, I don't think that was seen as big of a risk as it is today.
Great. The record decision was based on an environmental impact statement that ran from Service Center Road to Ruby Park. And over the last few decades, since the record decision was created, a lot of work's been done, primarily between the roundabout and Service Center Road, but we've also enhanced Ruby Park as well. But we constructed a few of the key items. We constructed a new Maroon Creek Bridge with the help of the federal government and state government. I know we locally participated in that as well, from the EOTC and from the county. We also created the bus lanes, which made a huge improvement going into town and out of town. But the EOTC contributed about $8 million to the bus lanes heading into the city of Aspen, starting there at the airport. But there are a lot of other projects that were completed as part of the record of decision. This hasn't set languishing on a shelf. We've taken its guidance and have started to implement that over time. And now this last little bit, the most important part, remains to be done. So we have identified 3 options for the commissioners to consider. One is always, you can do nothing. We don't have to do anything with regard to this. The federal government and the state government hold the authority to take action at the entrance to Aspen. The city of Aspen is certainly a partner in a decision-making process on what they're going to do, but it doesn't negate the fact that the county can make a decision unilaterally in support of our partnership. So that's why we're here today, is to give you options, but you can certainly do nothing.
The next option would be to seek to implement the current preferred alternative which would require a reevaluation of the current record of decision. And just for clarity, what are we talking about is what has been dubbed the modified direct shot across the Merle open space, with 2 general purpose lanes and 2 bus lanes, a cut and cover tunnel over the new alignment to kind of regain some of that lost green space, provide connectivity for recreational trails and wildlife. And it's also worth noting that the connection from Cemetery Lane to the roundabout would be severed as part of that preferred alternative. In my understanding, the intent of that was to help regain some of the area of impact of the new alignment across the open space and converting that current stretch back to green space there. And that would result in a new signalized intersection where the new bridge would tie into Main Street and allow traffic from the Cemetery Lane direction to enter into Main Street there with that new configuration. The other option is a new environmental impact statement, which could potentially result in a new preferred alternative. The outcome of a new EIS is unknown, and you cannot presuppose the outcome of any environmental impact study. FHWA and CDOT would have to agree to perform a new EIS based on valid reasoning to vacate the ROD, or record of decision. And that reasoning has to be something beyond, we don't like the current preferred alternative. It has to be something like the assumptions were not valid or are currently no longer valid. The background conditions have changed, something along those lines. So it wouldn't be guaranteed that FHWA and CDOT would agree to undergo a new EIS. If that were to happen, you would need to generate a new purpose and need statement and new community goals, which may look very similar to the current purpose and need and community goals. And all of the alternatives would be screened against those purpose and need and community goals, and the outcome could be very similar to the current record of decision.
So based on the meeting we had in April, staff has created a resolution which basically would encourage the state and the federal government to reevaluate the record decision in the EIS. And by doing that, this would be option number 2, to implement the current preferred alternative. And it would be the first step in doing that, to reevaluate the record of decision. So that's what the resolution says, and that's what's in front of the board today. These are the three alternatives that we just went through in one slide.
Questions for Brian or Andrew?
Keehan.
Greg, go ahead.
So Andrew, on the previous slide with the 8 points, you picked out number 7 and number 8. Number 2 was just about projected 2015 person trips forecasted. What's the new information look like since 2015? 10 years later, how close were we to the projections, and what can you tell us about that now?
I don't have the exact numbers at my fingertips, but from my recollection of the projections that were done as part of that EIS, those have proven to be exceedingly accurate. You don't typically see traffic projections as accurate as what those were shown to be in that EIS. So that traffic growth has been pretty close to what they projected in the original EIS.
If I could follow up, regarding crossings on Castle Creek Bridge, numbers of cars, is there any way we can interpret, is that where they're measuring, or is it somewhere
That
farther?
is where they're measuring. Yeah, as the EIS was written, it was regarding traffic across the Castle Creek Bridge. It is worth noting that, as congestion worsens, people seek alternative routes, and I think some level of additional trips have been absorbed by Power Plant Road, which hasn't been counted in as much detail as the Castle Creek Bridge. But with the new permanent automated vehicle counter system the EOTC has installed, there are now permanent counters on Power Plant Road to better measure that traffic.
Great, thanks. So it was taking overflow. So the bridge hits capacity, and then Power Plant Road is the obvious, relief valve. And I think we already have numbers from Jacobs on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a fixed limit for how much traffic one single lane of roadway can handle, somewhere between 1,100 to 1,400 vehicles per day, or per hour, I mean. We're pretty close to that limit.
Right, great, thanks.
Can you expand on the new traffic counters? I think the public needs to know. I think it's a great effort that the EOTC is undergoing, just where they are and what they actually, the information they are going to give us.
Sure. So there's been, I think, 8 permanent vehicle counters installed throughout the county, seeking to better measure the traffic flow in all areas in the Upper Valley. They are located just off of 82 on Brush Creek Road, on Owl Creek Road, on Maroon Creek Road, McLean Flats. The Castle Creek Bridge has a new counter because the existing counter was at the end of its lifespan. I think I mentioned Power Plant, and also east of Aspen near North Star. And this counter system is a pretty new technology utilizing video-based AI recognition. So there are cameras taking 24/7 video data of the lanes at that location, and an AI system is analyzing that video and counting the number of vehicles, but also the classification of the vehicle, which is utilizing the 13 Federal Highway Administration classes of vehicles ranging from passenger cars, light trucks, box trucks, semis, trucks and trailers. And it's also counting speeds as well. So we are now getting much more robust traffic volume and speed information at all these locations that we weren't currently getting. The previous permanent vehicle counters were located only at the Castle Creek Bridge and down on Highway 82 at Old Snowmass. And all the other traffic counts were done on a temporary installation basis.
So, when do we anticipate we'll have data from those? Because I think this data is going to be critical to making any decisions on what we may or may not do for the entrance to Aspen as far as reducing traffic congestion. So when do we anticipate having data that's really got some meat to it for us to make decisions?
Yeah, so we're collecting that data now, and I think Linda Dupriest at the EOTC meeting will give a snapshot of that. But we'd like to collect it for a while so that we can provide some substantive analysis. For instance, figuring out the impact the schools have on the entrance, because we feel that there's a substantial impact to people coming and going from the school system. And so by having these counters in place, we'll be able to prove that, because we have a counter on Maroon Creek that is separate from the Highway 82 corridor. So we're collecting that information. As soon as we get kind of a threshold of good data, we'll be presenting that to all three entities that paid for it: Snowmass, Aspen, and Pitkin County.
Thank you. That's what I needed to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, Francie.
I'm wondering if, during the reevaluation, if there's a significant enough increase in exiting Aspen traffic, whether it'd be possible to reconsider the turn at Cemetery Lane and connecting that to 82, whether that would be too wide outside the scope or whether that would be possible under a reevaluation.
That's a really good question, Francie, and I don't have an answer for you. We would need to rely on our environmental experts at Federal Highways to make that determination. Through a reevaluation process, you're able to make minor design changes, and what is determined to be a minor change is, of course, up for debate. But the important thing with those minor changes is they cannot get you to a alternative that was already evaluated and screened out. And I don't know in enough detail whether that was an alternative that was evaluated and screened out, or whether that would be considered to be a minor change.
I see. That could be one of the 42, but.
It's a
Yeah.
great question,
Yeah,
Francie.
that is a good question.
Other questions for staff? Yes, Greg.
Well, I just want to make sure I understand it well enough again. It seems like reevaluation of the EIS would make sense to me if the conclusion of that reevaluation might push us to item number 3, or push the FHA, WA, and CDOT to item number 3. Wouldn't be us. Is that a possible?
That is a possibility. You do a reevaluation, it's not guaranteed that it will reconfirm the current preferred alternative. I think that is a likely outcome, that it would be reconfirmed, but there is a chance that through that reevaluation process, it would be determined that the current preferred alternative is no longer valid, and then it would be escalated into a formal EIS process from there.
And to follow up on that, just regarding records of his decision and age of data, somebody at CDOT in a previous meeting said, a record of a decision that's more than, say, 7 or 10 years old is kind of stale. And I don't know if that would apply here. And if they apply that, or they're thinking, hey, as you're suggesting, maybe we're still spot on and we should go. And I would just, do you have any thoughts on that? Is that familiar to you, that it has a kind of a shelf life?
Yes, and that's why a reevaluation is required. Because if it was not stale, you could just implement as is. Due to the time elapsed, the guidance I've been given is a reevaluation would be required because of that time to reconfirm that those background assumptions are still valid.
Great, thanks. Thank you. That's it for me.
Just real quick, Francie, your question was a great question. It's been of concern to me, and it was when I was part of creating this document many years ago, and was the emergency ingress egress, and that if my request at that time was to provide some type of emergency access from Cemetery Lane to the roundabout, be it grass pavers or something that, so if we needed to, we could open it up at that time, because we never know what might happen on the new entrance and what happens if that gets blocked and everybody gets funneled back to cemetery. Lots of complications. But also in times of evacuation, be it if it's 4th of July, we're going to need more than, we're going to need 2 straight shots out of town. And so I think that would be a great thing to ask, how we could maybe implement something where we could use it just during emergencies, or whether, some iteration of keeping that open, I think would be a great thing to follow up with, and what it would take to look at that.
I would just like to add that there is a lot more flexibility with just temporary emergency egress routes as opposed to something that would be in a permanent configuration.
So it might be a way to get there in another manner. Thank you.
Great questions today. Thank you. Any others? All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the public comment, and I'll invite Megan to come up.
Hi, Megan.
And please keep it to 3 minutes and go ahead.
This will be quick.
Thank
I'm
you.
Megan Ruby. I'm a full-time county resident. I support a county resolution for a reevaluation of the PA. County needs additional infrastructure to efficiently address needs such as wildfire evacuation and bridge repair. Reevaluation provides for additional local control versus a new EIS whose outcome can't be predetermined. I'm worried that the current Federal Highway Administration's goals and values may not align with local populace and government. The preferred alternative can be improved through reevaluation. For example, we can determine if congestion can be improved with the use of HOV and the dedicated bus lanes at certain times. If the PA fails, we can roll straight into a new EIS, and the financial burden of the process may be shared by all the relevant constituents. We need to get the project shovel ready so that when funds are available, we can move forward. The burden of the redevelopment of Lift 1A is going to especially tax existing infrastructure, which is very concerning. Finally, the timing related to a reevaluation is much shorter than a new EIS. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. All right, who would like to come up? Nice to see you, Mike.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Maple. Thank you all for being here. Jeffrey, welcome to the Board of County Commissioners. I've not met you. Perhaps someday I'll do so, not across this table. Congratulations on your reelection. In any event, I came before this board on August 27th to encourage you all to get engaged in the entrance to Aspen discussion. And indeed, at the time, really what I would have loved to have seen was for you to go forward with a county-wide vote to get the opinion of us county and, in my case, city residents. You didn't ultimately do that, but as you know, the city ballot initiatives went forward, and we now have a clear indication from City of Aspen residents that we need to do something about the entrance to Aspen, and that the preferred alternative is the preferred way to go. I'm quite confident that had you put a similar measure to the county residents, that they would be far more enthusiastic than those of us that have the good fortune to live at this end of the valley in Aspen. So I encourage you to think about all of your constituents, not just your constituents in Aspen, as you consider and debate this resolution. In my mind, there has been one very significant change since the record of decision was entered into, and that is the condition of the Castle Creek Bridge. As presumably you all know, the Castle Creek Bridge is approaching, or perhaps has exceeded its useful life, and there's no question that it needs to be replaced or very, very substantially rebuilt. As a resident of Cemetery Lane, that would mean that I wouldn't be able to get into Aspen for 3 or 4 or 5 years as they attempted to reconstruct a bridge while it's in place. And so for me, the urgency of moving forward with the preferred alternative is many of these issues and decision points that have been presented in 1995, but it is really about the condition of the Castle Creek Bridge and maintaining our access to the community. Reevaluation, as others have said, is a much shorter process than an EIS, and you will hear some people suggest that an EIS can be completed in a couple of years. I don't think that's remotely true, and I will hand you a letter from the CDOT to the city of Aspen. They were asked about, what it would take to get to a new record of decision, and they brought forth, as an example, the record of decision for US 160 and 550 in Durango in 2015. I'm willing to bet that Aspen and Pitkin County is slightly more contentious than Durango. But in Durango, it took them 4 years to settle on what should be evaluated in an EIS. I suspect in Aspen it will take considerably longer, and only then was the EIS process gone through in about 2 years. So 6 years in 2015 in Durango could easily be 8 or 10 years in Aspen and Pitkin County. Reevaluation is clearly the way to go, as people have said. We'll find out whether or not the plans and ideas that were put in place in 1995 through 1998 are applicable or not, and if they're not, that doesn't preclude moving forward with the new EIS. This is a completely logical next step. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I will say one minor thing about the resolution. I don't think it particularly matters, but about your 8th or 10th whereas, it speaks to wildfire being paramount and represents a primary driver of this endorsement. I don't think that should be the primary driver of this endorsement. It is certainly one, very important one, but more important to me is maintaining access to the city of Aspen and to the upper Pitkin County, given the condition of the Castle Creek Bridge. Equally important in that regard is, given the changes in our community, improving public transportation is critically important. And, today, Castle Creek Bridge with 2 lanes is a major impediment to efficient and high-capacity public transit. The preferred alternative with 2 dedicated traffic lanes and 2 dedicated bus lanes will give us a significant opportunity to improve our public transportation. Thank you kindly.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
Nice
Mike.
to see you.
If you want to hand those around, we can. Thank you. All right, Anne, come on up. Hi.
Hi,
Anne.
Ann Mullins, Aspen, Colorado. Obviously, Colorado.
You've been traveling a
So,
lot.
no, I strongly agree with everything that Megan said and Mark said. Mike said, and I'll try not to be redundant, but I do support the BoCC reevaluating the preferred alternative for several reasons. First, I support the alternative itself. It checks the boxes. It will improve transit time. It provides a new evacuation route for the city. It increases the green space. In addition to that, though, as was pointed out, the project needs statement is surprisingly appropriate for today, and the community goals, the same thing. They are very close to our goals today, with the addition of the need for an evacuation route, which was not 30 years ago, was not as important as it is today. Aside from supporting that particular solution, this is also a quicker way to get to a solution to the problem rather than starting from scratch again. It will be a reevaluation. If the preferred alternative is not appropriate or inadequate, that will come out, and then a need for new study will become apparent. But we'll get to that point much more quickly with much less money if we begin the process by reevaluating what has been put forth. The last is clearly from the election in March, there's public support for reevaluating this, the preferred alternative.
Great, thank you, Anne.
That's it.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comment on, Tony, come on up.
Hi, for the record, my name is Tony Kronberg, and I probably disagree with every single person that's made this comment and the resolution that's in front of you. I don't mean to be testy, but I may come across as that, so I apologize for that. First off, the City of Aspen has done a wonderful job. We are now in the very first phase of the pre-NEPA evaluation. They are undertaking, the City of Aspen alone, not Picken County, not the town of Snowmass, they're undertaking the first step, which is known as a letter of intent. The letter of intent brings forward the objectives and the purpose and needs of the community, which is basically what Andrew just showed in the record of decision. There's a huge difference between an environmental impact study and a reevaluation. I'm going to hop right into that because you want to have it looked at from downtown Aspen all the way to the airport to Brush Creek and possibly Smith Hill Road. A reevaluation only goes so far as Buttermilk. It does not include the airport. It does not include the lumberyard housing. It does not include the airport business center nor Brush Creek. Our goal is to connect all of the different routes and to get traffic totally out of town. A reevaluation, while it is required because so much time has lapsed and there are changing conditions, it's not part of the NEPA process. It is a sidebar process. And what it does, it can serve as a recommendation that either we go into a new environmental impact study or the preferred alternative. We already know that elements of the preferred alternative are not going to work for our community, and there's already triggers in place that will show that we need a new environmental impact study. The preferred alternative, we only have one bridge that goes to the roundabout. With a new environmental impact study, we can have two bridges. A new environmental impact study would do the whole corridor, as I just mentioned. The federal government has said now there's a 2-year time limit on an EIS program. You can't go further than 2 years. The City of Aspen has already started the first part of it. Last night I went to the City Council and I said there's still a lot of confusion amongst our community, but among the elected officials that I have spoken in front of, including Picken County, Aspen, and Snowmass. My goal is we all have to get on the same page in the process that's required by the federal government and CDOT. It is a City of Aspen letter of intent. Picken County and Snowmass come in further in the process in the part once they start to take a look and they start to gather the public input on the different alternatives. I don't want to see this resolution derail the efforts that we've already mastered. Ward Howenstein is here, and Ward, I just wanted to say last night, I complimented the former council and this current council because they're moving us in the right direction. They have not made a decision yet, if it's an environmental impact study or a reevaluation, because they don't have the facts yet. My question to the board is, how can you make a decision on recommending an evaluation if you don't have all the information yet? And so far as the traffic counters that were talked about, that is going to be one of the topics that's discussed tomorrow at the Elected Officials Transportation Committee. Jacobs Engineering has done a study on it. You'll learn a lot of new information. And again, as I said, I don't want to feel a little testy, but I thought we were all heading in the right direction. And then I just get really concerned when I hear people say, we want to reevaluate the preferred alternative. That will take an extra year outside of the scope and another $1 million. Why waste the time? Why waste that time? And I really think it's important that Picken County stand behind the City of Aspen in their letter of intent. And what a letter of intent does is it's saying, do we need to do an EIS or do we need to do a preferred alternative? It's no one's decision except for the federal government and CDOT. And we have to play along in their process. And if you prematurely endorse this recommendation, it's going to show CDOT, and it's in that record of decision, the biggest thing that we can solve is everybody working together, not going off on different tangents. And then I read this to you the last time, was that Chuck Marsh from CDOT said, we're just going to work with the City of Aspen. We're not working with anybody else. The first phase of it, We're working with the city of Aspen. It's in the Aspen Daily News. It was a letter published from Chuck Marsh. Just let me read this, and then
Just
that'll be all
quickly,
that I have
Tony,
to
we're
say.
running over 3 minutes here.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
but this is really important. This is really, really crucial. And so this is what Chuck Marsh said. Okay, sorry about this. Kind of felt like I was doing backflips for a little while. So it says, okay, this is when the Transportation Coalition started forward with their group. And it says, we at CDOT applaud the citizens group or Pekin County Commissioners for taking an interest and active role in topics important to their community. That said, we will not participate in actions with the groups, but will continue to maintain our working relationship with the city of Aspen and will work through any entry initiatives at that level, Marsh wrote in an email to the Aspen Daily News. He continued, and this is this is a process that we need to follow. We have advised the city of Aspen that if they provide sufficient reasoning to the Federal Highway Administration and CDOT, then a new environmental impact process could be approved. They started that process. That's the letter of intent. If there is valid reasoning to enter a new EIS, the existing record of decision would be vacated and new one would be drafted based on the findings of that EIS. That's the purpose and need statement in the EIS.
Thanks, Tony.
So anyway, but I just hope that you don't prematurely endorse a resolution when the city of Aspen, who's the sponsor agency in the letter of intent, doesn't even have all the information that they need. And I told council last night, I'm convinced we're going to get it done, but we really have to work together and follow the process.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
All right, other public comment. Ward, come on up.
Thank you. And to follow Tony's preface on everything she says, for the record, my name is Ward Howenstein. I have a question, I think, first for Brian is, the purpose and needs has been submitted to CDOT and FHWA, and I'm wondering how long do you anticipate them to take to act on that?
Yeah, and I'll defer to Andrews since he has a little more
And
understanding
we don't
of that
usually do
process.
back and forth
Okay.
questioning, so I'm happy to have them answer it after your public comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering on the timing of the thing. I have a bunch of one-liners here. Take no action to vacate the record of decision. CDOT has told the city council that nobody's ever done that. Opening a new EIS is going to cost the city millions of dollars and delay perhaps up to 6 or maybe more years. I want to prevent the feds, FHWA, from mucking up the ETA. There is no perfect solution, and we in the community have been divided almost 50-50. If you could have 5% more people agreeing on one side or the other, that would be a major victory. And encourage everybody to not let perfect be the enemy of good. Tony mentioned NEPA. With the current administration, I don't know if NEPA is even going to come into play, if they're going to try to kneecap that. And one more thing is that abandoning the cemetery lane to the roundabout connection does nothing to mitigate the West End creep, which I think accounts for over a third of the outbound traffic in the evening. So if we want to help, I know it's not county's position, but city's position has been to try to mitigate that West End creep impact on the neighborhoods and the people there and the traffic. So I encourage option number 2. I just question with the timing on it if it's right at this time and how much of an impact it's going to have. And thank you to the county for being engaged in this, and hopefully we can move forward and get this entrance to Aspen accomplished. Thank you.
Thanks, Ward. Okay, we'll take public comment and then we'll go do any follow-up questions. Is there additional public comment on this topic? Can we go online? And if there's anyone online that wishes to provide public comment, please raise your hand on the resolution regarding the entrance to Aspen record of decision. All right, I'm not seeing any additional public comment. I will note we received 2 letters as far as I know. Howie Mallory had encouraged us to, well, I infer he encouraged us not to support this and to support a new EIS and gave reasons as to the change conditions. And Rachel Richards, speaking as herself, encouraged us to support this resolution today. So would you like to go ahead and answer the question, please, Andrew, that Ward had raised?
I think the question was whether or not the city had submitted a new purpose and need statement.
That and how long would it take to process that?
I am not aware of the city having yet submitted a new purpose and need statement. I believe they were waiting to their June meeting to make the formal determination
24th.
as to whether or not to pursue a new EIS or to pursue the reevaluation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for the board, or I will open it? I'm going to close public comment now, and I'm going to open it up for discussion by board members. Other questions or clarification required? Please feel free to ask.
I have a question.
Francie.
Does the current record of decision, if it's not altered substantially, allow us to make changes at the roundabout if they're necessary?
I believe if minor changes are allowed at the roundabout, yes.
Great, thank you.
Can I ask him?
Yes, Greg.
Tony made some interesting comments. If the scope of this only goes as far as the roundabout, or, you know, points short of Brush Creek, are we going to regret not examining that, not advocating to examine it all the way to Brush Creek? Because there is a pretty solid concern that so much has happened between the roundabout and Brush Creek that will affect traffic in the highway. If we're not contemplating that, does it seem incomplete? And you know, so there's the question I think we need to discuss, and is this the right time to be advocating for anything? These are good questions in my mind.
I don't know if I can answer that question. I think that's a personal values question.
That's the question for us to discuss, I
Well,
think.
no, it's a geographic question.
But it's worth reiterating that the original EIS project limits were from Service Center Road to Ruby Park.
Service Center.
So I think as part of our reevaluation, you can consider elements within those project limits.
Okay, thank you. Tony, I see your hand, but we're not engaging any further. Brian?
And Kelly, and just to follow up with that, also, it doesn't preclude additional work outside beyond Service Center Road. That can still be done.
Okay. Yes, go ahead,
Question for
Jeffrey.
Brian and Andrew. Is there any work that was not completed outside of the ETA in the current record of decision?
There was some things that weren't completed that were either advisory or listed in the record of decision. So there were some items that weren't completed. I think the entrance to Aspen represents the substantive project that can impact traffic flow.
One major thing is, there is light rail identified.
That was
in
my
the current
follow-up.
preferred alternative, and that is identified as a phased implementation that could be implemented in the future beyond the bus lanes, if there is community desire. And that would terminate at Service Center Road and Ruby Park as currently identified in the EIS.
Can I
Other
add to?
follow-up?
And not Brush Creek Park and Ride.
Correct.
Yeah, can I add to
Yes.
that? Wasn't the parking lot at the airport part of that phase, 3,000 parking spaces at the airport? But that was never completed because of multiple issues that are going on.
Correct. It was listed in the record
Yeah,
of
there were
decision.
a large amount of parking spots identified, and I believe at Service Center Road to support the terminal of light rail for the implementation of light rail as that mode change facility.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
So it seems to me the elephant in the room is there's no reduction in traffic through the preferred alternative as currently drafted without light rail even with light rail, I think either the FEIS by DHR or the ROD said we're only going to see an 11% decrease in traffic. So it seems like a lot of money to accomplish not much. And I would add, I know someone had a question on the whereas, that for community safety and security, we need both ingress and egress. And I don't believe the current ROD addresses ingress, meaning we have mutual aid. We would have a lot of people looking to get into Aspen at the same time. So it doesn't seem like it's ever discussed. So thank you.
I don't understand what you just said.
I'm still not seeing, so two-part comment. One was, I'm not seeing any decrease in vehicular traffic using the existing 1995 ROD, using the 2007 FEIS by DHR. Neither one actually.
How many acronyms do you know? What is DHR?
So DHR is the engineering firm that did the final environmental impact statement
Okay.
in 2007.
All right.
Was done by DHR Engineering. So
I'm really trying to keep up with what you're saying.
my concern is endorsing the current record of decision has no associated decrease in vehicular traffic into the entrance to Aspen.
You mean the timing or the number of vehicles? The time for the commute or the number
So
of vehicles?
the existing ROD says we want to bring the traffic levels back to 1993, 1994 Aspen, right? That's in order to ensure community character. But there's nothing in the ROD without a change in the transportation system that will bring us back to those vehicle counts.
Why doesn't more accessibility for the buses help accomplish that?
So your answer is that 2 bus lanes, that RAFTA solves that completely.
I didn't
It's
say
not changing.
completely, I
It's not
said
changing.
help.
It's not changing ridership, right?
No, but ridership is not a part of the entrance to Aspen. I mean, ridership is what it is, and we hope to increase ridership. But I'm saying to you, if we have a dedicated bus lane that does not have to merge with vehicular traffic, and it goes all the way into Aspen, why doesn't that address your concern?
My concern is it's not reducing traffic counts. It's not reducing single occupancy vehicles. It's not touching that at all.
How do you know it's not? Because if
Because
I
this
can get
is-
on a bus that doesn't have to merge at the roundabout and is going straight into Aspen and is cutting my commute time, I'm more likely to ride the bus.
I don't think the data says that. I don't think either of the reports say that. So
I'm
that's
pretty
what
sure
I'm
as a
questioning.
commuter myself that having lanes going in and out that don't merge is going to affect my commute time, no matter what Jacobs or anybody else says. I spend enough time in my car on that road to know that if I'm not trying to merge with all the buses and stuff, it's going to take me less time to get into Aspen.
Can I have a point of clarification?
Yes, Patty.
We're still going to have merging with the new entrance to Aspen. We're still going to have merging at the roundabout. It's not going to be a free-for-all for the buses. We're still going to have the lanes that come through the roundabout. There's still going to be a pinch point. It's not going away. So maybe I'm totally wrong on that, or maybe I missed it, or maybe not.
So the general purpose lanes still drop from 2 to 1 at the current location near Harmony Road. The roundabout, both lanes need to function for all traffic, so all traffic can make turns onto their desired leg off of the roundabout. And then shortly thereafter, out of the roundabout, it would turn into the dedicated bus lane.
So you're still going to have pinch points.
Yeah, but you're not
We're
going to
not
have
getting away
the
from
Aspers. Well, anyway.
Okay, but, yeah.
Are there other questions that you need clarification on for staff right now? So,
I do have another point of
I'm just going to point out on the April 8th meeting, there was, I think, 3-2 support for bringing this resolution forward today. So it has never been a unanimous conversation here at the board. And Jeffrey, based on your last statements, I'm unclear as to if your opinion has changed relative to that, or if others on the board's opinions have changed relative to how we got here from the April 8th meeting. So I think that is something for us to clarify. Patty?
I think April 8th was a work session, so we didn't really vote.
No, but we directed,
We directed staff to bring it back because we needed to have something in front of us to discuss, which I think is what we're doing today. I have some concerns, not that I don't support where the voters went to do the preferred alternative, but because of the time frame. I think that for us to pass this resolution now without waiting to see where the city of Aspen is going to go, tomorrow the EOTC is going to discuss this to see where the EOTC may be going with more information. I will not support moving this forward today. I would like to see us wait until we hear from the City of Aspen meeting, which is June 24th, see where the city wants to go, and see what comes out of the discussions tomorrow at EOTC. I think there's valuable information we're still waiting to have that may give even stronger support for this, which I think would be important to show to CDOT and to the Federal Highway Authority Administration, FHWA. I think that would be important to have a stronger support coming from the three jurisdictions, Snowmass, City of Aspen, and Pitkin County. I think that, to me, is critical. We have some great efforts ongoing now. We have this new data being collected with our new traffic counters, which I think is going to be extremely important and help guide us into where we might want to go if we do a reevaluation of the existing EIS. I think that's going to be critical information. I know everybody wants to get something done now. Well, I think we all do, but there's no money right now to do it. So I think if we have stronger support, that'll help us in garnering federal and state funds to help move this project forward, because we can't do it alone. It's too much money. And I don't think that the voters are going to want to support something which really should be a partnership with all the jurisdictions, with the state and feds. So that's why I won't support this today, even though I support the intent. It's the timing I'm concerned about for the gathering of more information and seeing the outcome of this new coalition that might have some differences, and to see where the direction the EOTC, which is really a key part of a lot of this, where the EOTC may go on this. I think that's critical. I do have a question about the time frame. Everyone says if we do the EIS, the reevaluation will save us time. What happens if the EIS reevaluation shows we need to do an EIS? Then we've delayed it even longer and spent more money. So I would prefer just to do a reevaluation, but my fear would be if that says, well, great, you did a reevaluation, but now you got to go through the whole thing and do a new EIS. We've then delayed it another couple of years, and I don't think any of us want to delay it a couple of years longer than we've already delayed. But I think that's a risk we may need to take in doing the reevaluation right off the start. I don't know all the intricacies of a letter of intent or who's on first and who's on second. I don't think any of us know. I know Pitkin County wants to be involved. I don't know what level we can or will decide to be. I think support from us is crucial at some point, but I again think now I'm being asked to support something that the information is still evolving on, and I'm really not comfortable in doing that. I would like to see that clarified, hear from the city, hear from EOTC, and then bring it back to the board. So I would like to delay this until such time as we've had an opportunity to evaluate that new information and comments from the other jurisdiction, mainly the City of Aspen.
thank you, Patty.
Thanks.
And I honor and respect your position.
Thank you.
I look at it a little bit differently. I think that this is a political statement about our opinion on what the city should do. And what I think the city should do is pursue the reevaluation and not immediately jump to opening an EIS on this. I think the record of decision got it mostly right, and that there is no perfect design. And so I feel like if I don't advocate for both the citizens outside of Aspen and Pitkin County as well as the broader region, because frankly, I think Pitkin County has maintained more of a regional perspective in how we approach community problem solving, that I would like to emphasize and advocate from my voice here, is it would be a missed opportunity if if they don't hear from us as a board about the preference to pursue the reevaluation as opposed to an EIS, and they make their decision absent our having made that statement. And that's why I will support this today, and that's the purpose, I think, that this informal resolution serves. Where are other folks at? Greg?
I appreciate what you're saying, and you want to have us a statement. I was kind of hoping we'd have someone from the city here, but it's premature. They probably wouldn't dare come and talk to us today before they've made a decision. And it makes me think that it's possible that we could actually gum the works up worse by doing something right now. I wish we could have this meeting the day after tomorrow, because after the EOTC, and I would hammer for the EOTC to come up with wish us luck, some sort of way forward, so we could all support a way forward. Otherwise, I am a little concerned that this may have the opposite effect of what we were trying to intend. And I appreciate the comments that have made both pro and con. I don't see a reason to jump the gun or get in front of everybody else. I kind of think that I'd prefer to hash this out with the OTC so everybody there can hear it and speak. I would be offered to make a motion to table this for an indeterminate period of time. Since it's only one reading, this is our chance. And I'm just not sure I see the real importance or value of doing it today.
Can I ask a question to respond to something you said from
Please.
staff? I think I was of the understanding that Snowmass had reaffirmed their position on the record of decision on this. Is that true?
I believe that's the case, but I mean,
I haven't seen anything.
Have to look into it.
New council, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Other thoughts? Or are you making that motion?
I'd make that motion.
Are you making that motion?
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
table this until a
We
date
can
certain.
continue it until.
Or continue
May
it,
I?
thank you, sure.
Continue it until either after EOTC or till after the city has their meeting on the 24th. So we have a meeting, I believe, on the 25th.
So Greg has made a motion to continue and Patty has seconded. Is there further discussion?
As they said.
Yeah.
Francie?
Well, I would support passing it today, but I'm not opposed to continuing it until after the EOTC. I understand your reasoning about that. I certainly don't think it's going to harm the city for the county to express what our preference is. I don't think that, they're pretty tough guys over there. I think they'll
they
be
know
all
what it
right if we state our opinion. And so I would prefer to pass this resolution today, but I would be willing to pass it at another time, not in the too far distance.
So in order to avoid maybe not voting on something that we then have to reconsider to vote on something else, or vote on the motion to continue before we vote on the motion whether or not to adopt this today, may I offer the substitute motion to approve the resolution and see where the board is at?
Well, we have a motion. Can we do that? Should we call the
vote on
question
this
that's
one.
before us now?
But then we've continued it and we can't have another motion on an action on it. So I'm suggesting we vote on the action motion, and if that fails, then we consider a motion to continue.
Call the vote on the continuance.
But if we've continued it, then how do we have a further action on it today? So I'm suggesting a substitute motion to take action on the resolution today. And if that doesn't prevail or it dies on the table, then we have a motion to continue.
Could we hear from Jeffrey before we make that call?
Do you see what I'm saying, though? If
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
already
yeah,
continued
yeah,
it,
but I
how can
need
we
a
do
point
any
of
further
clarification.
action on it?
But if we vote to say no to it, then it's done. I don't
agree.
want that. I would rather vote to continue it so we have the opportunity to take into consideration new information after these other two meetings.
Yeah, I'm worried about that too, Kelly, that if the vote is
2-3,
defeated today, then
it's done.
how can we continue it? Then we lose our opportunity to pass it after the EOTC meeting. I'm concerned about that. So,
Right.
but I think we should hear from Jeffrey.
I'm looking at.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
I'm looking at Rye for.
I was
legal.
just gonna say, I mean, it's fair to assume that the chair is gonna offer a motion to approve the resolution that's in front of you, and to the extent that she wants to entertain discussion on that to see if she can garner support for that, I suppose that's fine, without actually putting the motion on the table and thereby risking the outcome that you're concerned about, that if there's actually a motion in a second and it's called up, presumably Patty and Greg might not support that, and then the action would be complete as of today as opposed to continued. Now, there's nothing to prevent motion on that basis. If it were denied, you could add another agenda item of the exact same kind at some point in the future, but it seems somewhat superfluous if you're going to just continue this one today. So.
Okay. Jeffrey, can we have discussion on the motion to continue, please? And anything else you want to raise on this topic?
My discussion points are more weaknesses in the current ROD as drafted. So if you want to hear that, I'm happy to provide that, and then at least you have more details into where I'm coming from. So you're all looking quizzical.
Yeah, I'm wondering how that applies to the motion that's on the
I'm not
table.
looking to comment on
Motion
it.
to continue or not.
I don't have a view whether you want to continue or not.
How would you vote on it?
It's currently drafted, the 1995.
No,
right?
no, on the motion to
A motion
continue.
that's on the table right now. You can tell us how you think you'd vote
I
on
will
it.
vote against the motion to continue. I think we should have a view, and we can present that today. So I'm happy moving forward this afternoon.
But how would you vote if it were not the motion to continue, but it was the resolution to
approve it as is,
as it's stated?
So I think, may I entertain that at this point?
Well, we have to either withdraw the motion to continue or call the question on it.
There's a second motion on the table.
No, there's not. No, it wasn't accepted as a substitute motion and no one seconded it. So the only motion on the table currently is the motion to continue this resolution for a vote at a future date to be
I would
determined.
vote against a motion to continue.
Okay. I can call that question, or you can withdraw the,
Call the question.
if you'd like. Okay. I'll call the question on the motion to continue this to a future date.
June 25th.
And I will do,
Date certain of June 25th. Do we have a regular meeting on the, that's after the city has their meeting on the 24th of June.
You do have a regular meeting on
June?
the 25th.
No, that works.
City is having their meeting on June 24th.
So you're suggesting we put this off for 6 weeks?
Well, I want to hear what the city of Aspen has to
That-
say,
that
since it's
is
their
the-
entrance to Aspen.
the
issue.
I thought it was
point is
after
to
the
get
EOTC
additional
meeting.
information and additional time. Okay. All in favor of the motion to continue this
Well,
to June?
I'm not quite done yet with this, if you don't mind. So I thought you had said till after the EOTC, you wanted to have everybody together, talk about it at the EOTC.
And I mentioned,
Before we say our opinion today, we have to wait until tomorrow night, to say our opinion so that everybody has a chance to say their opinion at the same time.
but the city is not having their meeting for some reason until June 24th.
Well, I don't want to wait 6 weeks, but I'd be happy to wait 1 or 2 weeks. Can we change the date of hearing it again?
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
My argument would be, I want us all to be moving together in the same direction so we can really have a chance of getting something accomplished. I think that the way forward, as I see it, to do this would be to find out what the city's let's find out what happens at the OTC. Let's see what the city comes up with after their delay, which probably is data gathering, I would assume. They're still probably trying to
Because
get-
we haven't had enough time in 30 years to gather data.
Well, another 6 weeks isn't gonna kill it, but I'd rather be on board with the city and fully commit than to find out that we make a vote today and they do the opposite. Then where are
Yeah,
we?
but so
right?
what if they go right away into the EIS? We have to all jump on board so we're all on the same page?
I would like to get something accomplished, and I'd like to do it soon, and I think it's gonna require us all to be moving together in the same direction. So if we come out in advance with a statement that isn't based on understanding where everyone else is thoroughly, and I don't,
Except for the voters.
the voters have already spoken, it's true, but the other elected officials will be the ones making the call.
City.
I would like to be aligned with them when we make our, I'd like to support them in the direction they choose to go after all the work they're doing. They're on the hot seat right now. So that's how I feel. So that's why I
And you
propose
don't
we do
think
that.
they'll say anything tomorrow night of?
They could.
I mean, we know where Rachel is, so.
They may very well.
No, she was speaking for
Let
herself,
me jump
not
in.
city council.
I appreciate
that.
what your goals are, Greg. I don't think that that is the political landscape that we are functioning in. And I think that part of the point of this is our message to CDOT and the Federal Highway Administration, what our opinion as a jurisdiction is. And if our opinion as a jurisdiction is just to hitch our wagon to whatever the city of Aspen's opinion as a jurisdiction is, that is a completely viable outcome of our profile here. I don't think that's what we should do. I think we should articulate what our position as a jurisdiction is and let that speak for itself and hope that we end up in alignment with the city. But I don't, I'm not fully convinced that the city is going to be in alignment with us. And so that's sort of the point here of whether this is a meaningful thing to do. So that's a little bit of how I'm a bit of why I'm distinguishing the point of this resolution or not. If we're just going to hitch our wagon to whatever the city decides, this resolution has no meaning, really. It's just, it's whatever they want to do, and that's fine, and that's it. It's just a tacit acceptance. So, so that's, I just would offer that in terms of why we're trying to do this today. And again, I honor that what you're offering is totally a valid approach that Pitkin County as a government could take. I just don't think that's what we should do. Francine and Patty.
I agree with Kelly that I think it's important that the county make its own statement. For one thing, it may, probably not strongly, but I think CDOT and the highway, whatever their organization is called, would see, Pitkin County says such and such. And I also am concerned about aligning myself with the decision in the city, because the city represents people on this side of the bridge. And I think their perspective is quite different than those of us who live on the other side of the bridge. And we have other things to take into consideration than the people in the city. I'm not saying they're blind to the needs of the people who come from the other side of the bridge. I'm not trying to create two separate cultures here or anything, but I do think that the perspective of the people who have to cross the bridge morning and afternoon is different than those who don't have to. And so I don't want to give up my voice to the people who don't commute.
Patty.
There are people who live on this side of the bridge who don't live in the city. Please remember that. They're in my district and in part of Kelly's district, who are county residents, not city residents, who live in the, we represent everybody who lives in the county, and not all of them live within a municipality. And there are people up here in the east end of Aspen who aren't in the city.
I'm not questioning
but you were,
where the city line
wait,
is.
you're
I'm
interrupting
sorry.
me, and the thing was you were saying
I'm
everybody
not
on the
gonna
other
allow
side of the
It's very
bridge. So I'm saying there are other people on this side of the bridge who also didn't get to vote. We don't know where their votes would have gone. But, and I am not saying that we're gonna hitch our cart to the city of Aspen and we're gonna kowtow to wherever they wanna do. I'm just saying I'd like to hear from them, so I have a compromise to offer. Why don't we wait until after tomorrow's EOTC meeting to have some input from the other two jurisdictions to get a feeling of where they might be going, so we don't fly in the face, so we can work together cooperatively to get this damn thing done, because we've been working on it. That's dam with no end, just a DAM like beaver dams. So we can get it done finally, because I voted on it 27 times now, I think, and I'm done.
I would go with that.
Yeah, so I will suggest we amend the motion to continue it until a date certain of,
Next meeting is May 28th, followed by June 11th. And then, of course, the original motion was June 25th. So
Right.
2 meetings in between then.
the 28th. I may be late because my grandson's graduating from kindergarten. I'm sorry, guys, that takes precedent. He invited his Grammy. So can we do it on June 11th, not wait till the 25th? Would that be okay?
I'd be willing to amend my motion.
I would prefer to do it on the 28th, and we could wait for you. We could put it later in the day. I'm hoping to go to Idaho on June 11th.
Oh, so my not being here. Wait a minute. Forget it.
Well, we don't want to do it without you, and we
Well,
don't.
yeah,
We need a
'cause
full
I'm the one-
board.
Huh?
We need a full board on
Yeah.
this.
Well, call it question then.
But so if you're, depending, I mean, can you be there for part of the meeting for that day?
Well, can you not go somewhere on June 11th?
Well,
Yeah. Okay, fine. I will leave my grandson's graduation early to be here, Francie.
I'm not asking if you have to leave early. I'm asking, is it over
I
at noon or
don't
over at
know.
2?
I
or-
don't know what time it is. That's why I told the board yesterday, I may be late, I may not be here at all, but I will do my best. So
Well,
I
we
will do
can't
my
do it
best.
without you, so.
I'll do
Well,
my
then we'll
best.
be in a position to continue it to June 11th or June 25th at that point.
So,
So let's do it for the 28th. I will do my best. Never know when kindergartners let you loose. It could be a tough one, but I will do my best to be here at some point, and I'll keep you in the loop, Kelly.
So you want me to amend my motion to the 28th? Is that what you're
Yes.
suggesting? I'll do that.
Okay, we have an amended motion to continue this informal resolution on the entrance to Aspen to May the 28th, and a second to that friendly amendment by Patty. Any further discussion?
I will just add really quickly that we will be able to discuss intricacies of the record, Jeffrey, your points, somewhere along the line here, but this is just to try to get this process moving forward.
Okay.
I understand your points.
All in favor of the motion to continue to May 28th, please say aye.
Aye.
What is your vote? Aye?
That was an aye.
All right. I'm going to vote nay, even though I respect you all. I was hoping we'd move forward on this today.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in.
yeah, well, I was too, but.
I will do
it was
my
gonna
best to
happen.
be here, so if I'm late, maybe we can bump it till I can
Yes,
get here.
yes, no problem. Thank you all. Okay, and I'm just going to call a 5-minute breath break and water refill
Thank
for the
you.
board, and then we'll resume on item 4. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, to the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners regular session on May 14th. We are on first readings, which are set for public hearing for May 28th, and the first one is an ordinance approving a lease agreement with Harvest for Hunger for space at the Michael W. Schultz Health and Human Services Building. Hi, Jody.
Thank you. Hi. Jody Grady, Pickens County Asset Manager. And yes, since 1992, Pickens County Commissioners have been allowing nonprofits to lease space at the Health and Human Services Building. And that's part of an agreement for the zoning when that was built. It's still property of Aspen Valley Hospital, but we own and operate the building. As part of the county's mission to support food insecurity in Aspen, we have previously rented or leased as an in-kind donation to a previous food operator who was using that space as a food pantry. And these are all of an in-kind donation from the Board of County Commissioners. So Pickens County put out a RFP or RFQ to qualify vendors. We received two that the staff selected Harvest for Hunger as the new provider for that service. Harvest for Hunger is a charitable organization. They're dedicated to reducing food waste in the Roaring Fork Valley. So they do meet your mission to ensure families struggling with wage disparity and high cost of living. They do have a food pantry in Snowmass Village now, which has been extremely successful. And they're proposing now to operate out of the Health and Human Services Building a second operation. That operation will be open to the public Monday through Friday. Our previous pantry was only open 4 hours, 2 days a week. So this is really meeting the intent of the space to make that available to the public. There are no income eligibility requirements. This is going to be a stigma-free experience for the community, which is really nice. So the doors will open at 8 a.m. and they'll close at 5 p.m. On an automatic timer. Their staff will come in and stock and check on items periodically, but basically the community members can just come in and take what they need. There's no sign in, sign out. There's no points or any kind of tracking on this. And again, that's been very successful in the Snowmass Village community. We do have security on site, and we'll have cameras in the unit, so we'll be able to kind of monitor if somebody's loitering too long or setting up camp or anything like that. But we did ask them for the first month to really have a big presence, a good communication strategy of here we are, why we're here, what they can do for the community. So with that, I have drafted a new lease with Harvest for Hunger. They are leasing 391 square feet at $35 a square foot, which is an in-kind donation from the Board of County Commissioners of a little over $13,000 a year. And that is consistent with the other nonprofits that are leasing space as an in-kind donation within the building. A couple of other notes. I do, on the agenda item summary, I do have an error on there for the recommended action. This is Harvest for Hunger, not Community Health Services, as recommended on there. And this, we're recommending about a year and a half lease, 19 months. That would put us in a cycle for us to renew all of them at the same time with the board next year in December for a January renewal instead of staggering. we thought doing it for this calendar year, but then I would be back in November doing this again. So we're looking at about a 19-month lease on this. And I do have Gray Carr. He is on the line if you had any questions for he or myself on this lease in the space.
Okay, Andrew, can you see if Gray is online with us? He's got his hands up. Hi, Gray. Go ahead. Yeah, I think you have to unmute.
Is he there?
Yeah, he's there. There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, and so regarding the lease, Jody has given a thorough presentation, and if you want to make a quick comment, go ahead, please. Oh, we can't hear you. Is that on our end? Hang on. Can you try and go again? Nope, still can't hear you. Hang on. Oh,
No?
yes, there
there
we
he
go.
is.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Now you have to unmute.
And I'm here.
Yes,
And I'm
okay,
here.
we figured it
got you.
all out. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you for members of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Gray War, Executive Director of Harvest for Hunger, and we are very excited to be selected to take over the Aspen Pantry. Like Jody said, the Snowmass Pantry has been very successful. Our first year, we saw over 7,000 visitors. We're currently seeing 1,300 visitors a month. This is being open 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and we want to move that into the Aspen space. In Aspen, we expect to see 2,400 visits a month. And again, as she mentioned, it is a stigma-free pantry, so we do zero data collection. If you are hungry, we are there to provide for you. We do not track anything, no personal collection, no points. If you need it, please take it. Do you have any questions for me?
Greg.
Sure, great. Thanks for coming. Great to meet you online at least. Are you going to close the Snowmass Pantry, or will that stay open concurrently with the Aspen Pantry?
That pantry will be open concurrently.
Got it. Okay. And just regarding number of visitors, are you going to track, how will you know if somebody comes every day versus once a week? Are there multiple pickups, and does that matter?
To us, it does not matter. We do not track individuals. We have a dual laser counter mounted on the door. So it tracks how many visitors come in, and it's a dual laser, so it doesn't count people twice. So if you need to come in and get food and you're the same person and you come 5 days a week, we don't care. We don't know the situation. That person might be the only one that has a car, might be the only one that speaks English. He might be providing for multiple families, he or she. We operated the Snowmass Pantry all year last year, serviced 7,304 people, and it cost us $8,700 to feed that many people. It was 18 cents a pound. We currently rescue 3,000 pounds of food a week. So there's so much food out there, and if someone needs it, we want to give it to them.
Great.
And we
Thanks
don't
for that.
want to attach any requirements to that. Otherwise, it just goes in the trash. In the last 4 years, we've kept 336,000 pounds out of the Pickens County landfill. So if there's someone that wants to eat, we want to give it to them.
Thanks for that.
All right. All right. Any questions from board members for Jody or Gray?
I just wanted to say thank you
Yes.
to Greg. It's an incredible service.
Turn on your mic, Francie,
okay.
please.
Thank you so much for the incredible work you do. It's really an amazing service to repurpose food that's going to waste, and I really, really appreciate it. My son worked for an organization called Food Maven down in Denver, and they did the same thing on a larger scale and resold it at really reasonable prices. Unfortunately, the model didn't survive. COVID just about tanked it. So, but I'm really glad you're doing it, and I really support it, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly? All right, yes, Patty.
Yeah, great. I just want to say, you guys work a lot. I see you just about everywhere all the time. And you put in a lot of positive energy into helping to keep people fed. And a lot of people we have an echo. A lot of people don't understand, but they don't believe that we have people in need of food in Pickens County or in our valley. But that need is huge. And you are really helping to keep people and children and everybody with food on their table and without going hungry. So I appreciate it. And on that note, I'm going to make a motion to pass on first reading the ordinance approving a lease agreement with Harvest for Hunger for space at the Michael W. Schultz Health and Human Services Building, set for public hearing and second reading on May the 28th.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Greg. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, see you on the 28th, hopefully.
Okay, and we'll move on to our next item, a resolution of the BoCC.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Approving a fourth amendment to a contract with the Colorado Department of Human Services Behavioral Health Administration, providing funding for jail-based behavioral services.
Hello.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
How are you?
Please say your name and title for the record.
Dan Fallon. I am the Division Chief of the Pickens County Jail. So I'm here today asking you to accept grant funding from the Behavioral Health Administration. And it's a little different this year. I'm sure you guys saw the contract showed $0, which was rather concerning to me at first. So we went back to the BHA and said, I don't know that I can bring it to my board, a contract that says we're getting no money when we're actually getting money. So they came out with this letter from the CFO saying, these are the funds that we're going to be getting this year. And the reason they're doing it this way is our contract process is not as onerous as a few others. So in some counties, it takes 3 or 4 or 5 months to move funds around if needed to. So what they're doing in their budgeting process this year is trying to make it where if there are funds that a jail needs, they can move it from other counties with the approval of those counties to reallocate the funds so they don't go to waste at the end of the year. So that's why you'll see on the actual contract it's going to say 0, but the amount of funding we're going to get is going to be that $183,000. This program, as most of you know, provides mental health services within the jail. We do indigent backpacks. We give everybody Narcan upon release if they need it, fentanyl test strips, all these kinds of programs that are, I think, a great community harm reduction benefit. One of the things that they brought up this year, I put it in the notes, but since they've been tracking the data from our program, they've actually noticed a 20% lower recidivism rate in people that are engaged with the JBBS services than those that aren't. So they follow them for up to a year. And I just think that goes to show we have a really good team that sits there and tries to engage with these people upon release and continue getting them services in the community.
Great.
And I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have about the grant.
So I have
Yes, Patty.
So this is the Fourth Amendment.
Yes, yes it is.
Okay.
I messed up the paperwork slightly, and I thank
thought you were keeping me
Jeanette
on my
for
toe.
fixing it for me.
Thank you, and thanks to Jeanette, so thank you very
Yes.
much.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry, wait, hang on, I'm still just a little confused. So is this letter been incorporated as part of the,
So the letter was attached in the packet.
Yeah, it's in the
It's,
I know it's in the packet, but is it part of the contract that we're approving?
I don't believe that it is a part of the contract you're approving. It is that is what they gave me when I expressed concerns about the funding elements, as well as other counties expressed concerns about the funding saying zero. This was their solution for, this is our promise for the money that we're going to be giving this year, but they are not going to put it into that contract that's going to be signed because of the ability to move funds around.
That's
Right, does this concern you at all? It just seems like we're like,
I was
if
just
the
looking
state
at
doesn't
it.
pay up, I'm not sure we have any
I
recourse.
see, I got the,
I don't.
So one other
doesn't really concern me based on what I see right now, but.
And we get reimbursed month to month, so I submit invoices on a monthly basis to the state. So even if something was drastic was to happen, Connie as well said that we're only going to be looking at 1 month's worth of expenses out of the whole thing before we could figure something else out. So the exposure is not high, even if we were to, because we're going to be getting reimbursed monthly.
and Kelly, then this letter will be in the public record if we ever needed to refer to it.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but that's a great, so we're signing something that says zero, but we're really getting almost $184,000.
It made me go,
On a invoice related
Yeah.
reimbursement.
The risk is the 1 month expenditure that could potentially go reimbursed, although it seems like a relatively low risk scenario. But
We just do a Fifth Amendment.
Yeah, it just seems like a odd departure from what we've done in the past.
From the norms, yeah.
Okay, well, I will follow guidance from staff. And I think Francie made a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'd like
Are you
to
going
make a motion to approve a resolution approving a Fourth Amendment to a contract with the Colorado Department of Human Services Behavioral Health Administration, providing funding for jail-based behavioral services.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Greg goes, I'll third.
Okay, and, you know, I will say that I mean, this is one of, I think, the most impactful programs. Okay, and we'll say this at second reading on May 28th. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much.
All right, item number 6, a resolution authorizing acquisition of property at Triangle Park Lofts Unit R338, 231 Robinson Street, Basalt, for employee housing. Hi, Greg.
Hello. Andrew's up. And then I do have a PowerPoint.
Can't seem to stay out of that courthouse over there, can I?
Diane's here. Diane is somewhere.
While we're waiting, I just want to give everyone in the room a heads up. They're working on the heat pumps, and so that's why the thermostats are down, and they're down in the whole building. So if you all get hot, we can bring a fan in here. But that is the
I went to
HVAC
turn the heat
situation.
down and it's dark.
I'm just happy not to be cold in here for a change.
Yeah.
Yesterday it was cold, and so I dressed up, and today it's warm, and I couldn't adjust the heat. Thank you, Kara.
Sure. I just came from Florida where they have the best oranges.
You just pick them off the trees at the hotel. No.
All right.
What's your
Let's, you're all set up, ready to go?
Good, thank you.
All right, Greg, we'll turn it over to you. Greg Boyd. we'll turn it over
Greg
to you.
Boyd, manager of airport construction and facilities. We have found another unit for airport staff. 231 Robinson, unit 338. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit, 3rd floor. Pardon me. This adds another bedroom to our existing count, should it be approved. We have a 3-bedroom we bought this year already, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, 3 condos, the 3-bedroom Shadow Rock condo, and the other 3 bedrooms, are single units at the AOC. This would be an additional 1-bedroom, 3rd floor unit, 1-car parking, underground, fireplace, rooftop deck, has barbecues and common amenities, fireplaces as well. This kind of fits into what we're looking to just to kind of finalize our purchases for employee housing. I have some comparables as well. We did get the price reduced from 850 down to 720, and just found out today that we'll get another roughly 5,000 back at closing just for some maintenance items on the unit that we can do in-house with the facilities team from the airport. Comparables were pretty favorable. There was another unit that I looked at Lakeside. It's the second in the comparables. Just wasn't a nice, needed a lot of work. This unit doesn't. It's pretty much move-in ready once we do a couple things to it. And then the other comparable was a unit that doesn't even exist yet. It's a hole in the ground, no assigned parking, no real idea where it would sit within the building. And prices on those units for Basalt Town Center are rising quickly. So we jumped on this one after looking at a couple others.
I'd also add that we received an appraisal that came in at $733,000 just this week. So if that helps the board's consideration of this matter, we did get that.
That's helpful. Thanks, Rye. Other questions for Greg or Rye or Diane?
I like the cowboy hats on the wall.
They're going.
All right, this is a first reading and will be heard at second reading of public hearing on May 28th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ordinance for
I
this
will
purpose?
second Francie's motion. Thank you, Craig.
And I will just note, this is supposed to be an ordinance, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll just have to make sure that's listed properly in the agenda for the 28th. Sorry, who motioned, who seconded?
Francie and Patty.
Francie and Patty, thank you. Any further
Yeah, it says
discussion?
Arezzo in the
I
agenda.
want to get a job at the airport. That looks like a nice pad.
We're hiring.
Do you have a question? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
just quick, so 1092 a square foot is for new, whatever you call it, is the Willett side, and then your comp was for the unbuilt stuff in the former Restore?
In where
The unbuilt one at the bottom.
the
third one.
unbuilt is Basalt, it's in the center of Midland.
Where City Market used to be.
Restore.
Well, City Market.
Oh, yes, it was Restore. I'm sorry
Yeah.
for a little while. I
Okay.
knew it as City Market.
So that's what we're trading at in,
City Market.
thank you.
Really?
So I
Right
think we
across
did,
from the Tipsy Trout. there.
again, I think we did okay.
Yeah, no. It's sad to say that 1092 a square foot is reasonable for the middle of the valley.
Agreed. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thanks, we'll see you the 28th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, item number 7, a resolution approving
Thanks, Sam.
an MOU with the City of Aspen and Town of Snowmass Village to support creation of a regional housing needs assessment. And I see some of our housing resiliency staff here, and I'll look to Deputy County Manager Kara Silvernagle. Are you going to present?
Yes, I am. So I will be presenting on behalf of Ashley Pearl. She's unable to make it today. Before you is an MOU for a housing needs assessment. The staff have been working with City of Aspen and Snowmass Village on a housing needs assessment at a regional level, so regional being county and municipalities, beginning in early December. So as a background, this is the outcome of Senate Bill 174 in 2024 that requires a housing needs assessment to be completed by December 31st, 2026 for all jurisdictions. And then following from that is a local housing area plan, some other acronym that follows from that. In starting to work with our partners, the City of Aspen was actually already working with EPS on a different project, and through efforts that City of Aspen and Snowmass Village are doing to pursue Prop 123 funds, we decided to accelerate this project, leverage the relationship that they already had with EPS, who was helping build the criteria so we could move forward with the housing needs assessment. So we've been working on that. They were working on contracting aspects of it, and we are splitting the cost 3 ways amongst the 3 jurisdictions. And so it's before you today for an MOU, since we're basically paying we're paying the city who is managing the contract with EPS.
Patty.
So on the memorandum of understanding, under item number 6, it says the housing needs assessment will cover the geographic area, including Pickens County through Garfield County. Pickens County, Aspen, Snowmass, Basalt, Garfield County, Carbondale, Glen Springs, Newcastle, Silt Rifle, and Parachute. So is it Aspen, Pickens County, and Snowmass, or is it from here to Parachute?
So the way that the criteria is that the criteria is very complex from the legislation. So the reason it's covering that is we have basically primary data that is for Pickens County, Snowmass, Aspen, Basalt. We are using secondary data of kind of workforce needs and elements of the region, so the greater region, so that's where the Parachute, Garfield, and Eagle County is informing that needs assessment for Pickens County itself. So that is why the data is covering that whole region to inform the housing needs for the Upper Valley.
So will then those other jurisdictions outside of Pickens County be able to use the data that we collect, but they're not pitching into funding it?
They are doing their own housing needs assessment too, because there's different
So
criteria.
would they be looking at our data for their housing needs assessment, because it's a regional needs assessment? That is very confusing and very unusual. Kind of overlap, but.
And as a person who just went through a Prop 123 grant application and had the housing needs assessments we submitted rejected and had to pay for site-specific studies, it's really tricky to get I'm not convinced that this will culminate in exactly what they're going to need for a Prop 123 grant. It's just my own lesson learned. As close as it can would be super helpful, and I just would maybe suggest trying to get some of that feedback, iterative feedback directly from DOH staff as we develop the assessment, so that it's useful for all the ways we need.
Sounds like they're not even sure what they need. Yeah. Okay.
And
anyway,
I said that you didn't.
Maybe a point of clarification. So there's actually 2 demands on the housing needs assessment. So the first is all jurisdictions have to do a housing needs assessment per Senate Bill 174. To what Kelly was saying, there is a second criteria that is somewhat different for Prop 123 to get a waiver for the AMI. That is different criteria. So we are working, and that's why we're leveraging what's already been the relationship with EPS, who helped write the criteria, to hopefully be able to stack within this housing needs assessment, get both, and hopefully be successful with the Prop 123 waiver.
There's not a requirement to RFP this, given the amount?
This was through the city's process, and they did not need to RFP it. They did an original RFP for the first leg of their contract with EPS, and I don't know if you know more on it.
Okay. And that's okay with our procurement?
We're okay then?
I think it's
Oh,
under the-
for our,
Well,
sorry,
no,
for
I'm
our
assuming the
threshold.
amount for the threshold is, $125,000.
Yeah.
Based on the amount we're throwing in, and I didn't know if that required an RFP process to have selected EPS.
We are falling to the city's procurement process for
We're just
that
hoping to fund their effort.
Yeah. Okay, well,
With
this
our-
is
with our
great.
aid.
We supported this bill requiring this, so it is important information, and I look forward to seeing what comes out of it.
Yeah, and we kind of signed up for Prop 1. Remember, wasn't there a deadline? You had to say you were going to look at Prop 123 in the future. I mean, remember there? Yeah, so I'm in support of this, so I will make a resolution. I will make a motion to approve the resolution for an MOU with the City of Aspen, Town of Snowmass Village, to support the creation of a regional housing needs assessment.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? Jeffrey?
So can you just touch on how this compares to the study that we just did 2 years ago? Which was the Northwest COG Regional Housing Report that I thought was fantastic for all of Colorado? This seems much more.
There is very specific line by line criteria as an outcome of Senate Bill 174 in order to meet the housing needs assessment. The Northwest COG report does not meet the requirements per laid out from the legislation as a regional housing needs assessment.
Dang.
It was just a report.
But it was
COGS came first, and then the law
But it was in
passed.
order to meet another Senate bill was the reason why this was drafted. This was drafted for House Bill 221117, Prop 123, Senate Bill 23001. So it just seems like every 2 years we're just going to change the methodology and then hire a new consultant that sponsored the bill. Sorry,
There's different elements. I think what I will give credit is this, out of 174, there is very specific data that needs to be pulled and they're trying to make that a little bit more uniform across all the housing needs assessment that then will go into future planning efforts.
And just the legislative context for the interest in affordable housing in the legislature, it really extends back about 6 years. And so I think they're still figuring out how to get it right. And that's why every year there's sort of a new package of bills on this type of topic. So hopefully they don't rewrite it in 2 years, 4 years, or 6 years, but.
It's good ones to have for future legislative efforts.
Okay. And again, I guess I would just say from, my own experience that if there's a component of market studies that fits into this, that might best benefit positioning for grant applications, because that was the information that we needed to sort of supplement. So just a heads up. All right, we will have a second reading, public hearing on May 28th on this. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, now we're moving on to our public hearings, and we have number 8, resolution, more housing. Is April here? Hi, come on up. It's a resolution approving and authorizing the chair to sign a grant agreement with the West Mountain Regional Housing Coalition to fund the Good Deeds Housing Program. Again, this is a second hearing, and we will welcome April Long, the Executive Director of the Regional Housing Coalition. Hi.
Red is on.
Red is on. Yes.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for having me back. So as the chair mentioned, we're discussing $1 million contribution to the West Mountain Regional Housing Coalition's Good Deeds program. Just as a reminder for what that is, it is a program to bridge the gap between what's available on the free market and what's affordable for local income earners. And so in order to do that, we qualify a buyer, and they have to work locally in order to qualify. And then we go in with them on the purchase of any free market house they choose with some maximum price caps. And we supply 30% of the purchase price, and they supply 70% in exchange for a deed restriction signed at closing, which puts a permanent price cap on the property moving forward, holds it into a more affordable price for the next buyer. And this is a development neutral approach in that we're not building anything. We're protecting and conserving what's on the free market. And we are, you have to be a working local, and you have to maintain local employment while you're living in the home. And so we're working with working locals, and then we have, this is a permanently affordable solution for housing, for home ownership. We've demonstrated program success thanks to a contribution from Pickens County as well as our other member jurisdictions last year. With $2.25 million, we were able to do this for 9 different homes. So we have 9 deed restricted homes now that we didn't have then. Just for reference, Eagle County's been running this program for 3 years. They've done 145 homes in 3 years. It's their highest demanded housing program in Eagle County. And in order to continue the success of this program, funding is absolutely critical. We have another commitment of about $500,000 from our other partners this year, and so $1 million from Pickens County would really help into ensure the success of the program through 2025 or in 2025. And the demand is still very high for this program here. So I am still getting requests every day about how to qualify and how to participate in the program. When is funding going to be available? I would just remind you that we believe this is the quickest, simplest way to increase homeownership opportunities for our working locals. So that's why we believe in this program and seeing its success. And I think this is a great opportunity to put Pickens County's new revenue from your new property tax into work very quickly. And just because you were just talking about housing and I quick did a back of the napkin analysis, this is, we spend about $247,000 per deed. And those are generally 3-bedroom houses. And so I estimated a three-bedroom house at 1,500 square feet. And that's about $165 a square foot. Just
For the buy down.
as opposed to the $1,000 a square foot that you're using to purchase a 1-bedroom unit in Basalt.
Can we apply to the Good Deeds program?
Everyone can apply as long as you
Okay, well,
maintain local employment.
You can get a deal on that
Buy
place.
your own house.
Sorry.
I'm happy to go answer any questions, pull up any slides or data that you would like. This is all I prepared for today.
Thank you, April.
You didn't really mean
Oh, sorry.
anyone can apply.
Francie.
Anyone that is locally employed.
Can I ask you a question about that?
I'm sorry, Patty was ahead
Oh, I'm
of you,
sorry.
so we'll let her
I'm
go.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have contributions so far from Snowmass, Glenwood, and Carbondale?
Yes, ma'am.
And you, I think, were presenting to the city.
I presented to the city on
You haven't
Monday
heard.
night in a work session, so they didn't discuss what they're willing to consider, but I did request $1 million.
So hopefully they will look at what we're doing here today and feel as generous as we and supporting this, what I think is a really great program.
Yes, I would applaud you for this leadership. Thank you.
All right. And Francie.
It's okay. I think I thought it through.
Okay, Greg.
I would encourage the city to one-up us. They're not just going to match us. They need to beat us at this. I think this is a great program, and I'm amazed how well it's done. I wanted to ask you, it's not too tangential, but we had the conversation just yesterday about wondering about the, well, I can't go into detail, can I?
No, you can't.
There are some other assets possibly on the market I'm just wondering how interested you are in expanding beyond single-family home one-offs to multiples.
That's not something that our board has discussed directly yet. We are exploring all the ways that we could expand the Good Deeds program. And so we have discussed doing off-market purchases for people that are willing to leave it in legacy or to, get into the program early and then, get funding for their home, but and put a deed restriction on it for a future sale. We're looking at new development. We're looking at land conservation. And so there are different ways that we're talking about expanding the Good Deeds program. And I think that is a potential idea. And I would just say that West Mountain Regional Housing Coalition is very involved in the efforts to preserve affordable housing in the valley.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear more.
And April is a part-time staff. So when they come back and ask us for more money, that would be why. Yeah. Jeffrey.
This is really, again, as you look at ways to expand and explore the program, I would love to see how you could partner with Northwest COG specifically and with Doug in Gypsum. How do you, and maybe you don't entertain this, but from an operations and maintenance standpoint, what do we do for weatherization? How do we actually improve what we're putting in this housing stock as opposed to buy it, it stays stagnant, and then hits the market? And so Northwest COG really doesn't do any work in weatherization in Pitkin County because of their AMI requirements, but it's basically free updates that would be heat pumps and water heaters and insulation. So how do we make this an even cooler program, no pun, than Eagle? So it would be fun to see if there's a chance between the two organizations to work together. So again, not related to today's grant, but going forward as you look at how does this program advance. It'd be wonderful to hear that.
They also offer appliances, some level of appliances too, outside of heating and cooling.
Yes, go ahead.
Just wanted to ask, I know you probably expected me to ask this because I kind of threw it out at the end of it. How much money could you actually put toward this if you had it?
Right, and so I think the way we answered that question was to analyze how many homes are in the market that meet our requirements or that meet that maximum cost threshold. So we looked at the beginning of April, we looked at how many homes were on the market that were less than 1.5 million in the Pitkin County, Aspen, Basalt, Snowmass area, and found, I think it was 130 homes.
Sounds right.
And I believe that I ran the numbers that it would take us $19 million to purchase all of those homes, or to put deed restrictions on all of those homes in coordination with a local buyer. So I hope that helps answer the question. 19 million would do what we could this year.
15% of the cost to lock it up.
Yeah, 30%.
30.
Right.
Yeah.
We put in 30%.
Oh.
And a
Right.
buyer
I know.
puts
I
in
was thinking
70.
the cost of 130 homes, if you're putting in 19 million total, is like
60 million.
Yeah.
I think that's just good to keep that as our North Star to focus on. a goal.
Absolutely, I will request 19 million next time.
Thank you. Get the city to kick in the other 18.
All right. Any further questions for April? Otherwise, I will open it for public comment. Any public comment on our $1 million contribution to the Good Deeds program? Is anyone online? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion.
Please.
I'm going to jump in there. I don't have it in front of me. Quick, what does it say? This is an ordinance. Nope, that's the lease agreement. Pardon me. I
Number
fell
8.
behind. Number 8. I was on 9 already. Let me give me a second. This is a resolution approving a grant agreement with West Mountain Regional Housing Coalition to fund the Good Deeds Housing Program and challenge all the others to jump in as well.
I will second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, April.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Number 9, ordinance of the BoCC approving a lease agreement with Other Door LLC doing business as Subway and authorizing the chair to execute the lease agreement for space at the River Park Center, 123 Emma Road. Hi, Jody.
Hi, thank you. Jody Grady, Picton County Assets Manager. Yes, so we presented during first reading this lease, which the board discussed the terms of a 10-year lease with 2 one-year renewals, if we all agree. These tenants, which is the Other Door, or AKA Subway, have been with us in the building since 2004. They've been great tenants, no issues at all, and they're hoping that you all will approve this ordinance and public comment.
Okay. Any questions about the ordinance with Jody? So we discussed it first reading. Jeffrey?
Just, can we have the ordinance and the lease actually meet the same terms?
Right.
So page 138 and page 140, the ordinance that's in front of us doesn't match the lease.
Okay.
So
Well, we have to make the amendments now. since
please
they
make the
already-
amendment. I don't know which one's correct. Page 138, it shows that we go through May 31, 34. Page 140, it shows we go through December 31, 2035.
Okay.
So I'm assuming they should be the same.
Catch.
Can you tell us what it is?
It is through December 31st, 2035.
Okay. Beginning on June 1st of this year.
June
All right. I will open this for public reading and we will keep that amendment in public hearing. We will keep that amendment in mind when we vote. Is there any public comment on this ordinance for a lease agreement with Subway? Okay, not seeing any. I'll close the public comment and I will request a motion to approve the ordinance of lease agreement with the Other Door, correcting the dates to read June 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2034.
2035.
2035. Okay.
It's really wrong.
2 date corrections there. Thank you. Good
Thank
catch.
you very much. Oh.
Any other discussion? Is there a second? Or I'll look for a motion, actually. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance as stated by the chair.
Thank you.
With the amendment to correct the date to December 31st, 2035.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just a short. My only concern really is that this is a huge billion-dollar corporation, multi-billion-dollar corporation that doesn't have a particularly great track record. I'll just leave it at that. You can look them up. they seem to have done a good job locally. People like it, but we are giving them the leg up so they don't have any competition, so to speak, of for the amount of rent they're paying. And so I feel like we're subsidizing the wrong people. Maybe there isn't a local group that would like to come in and try to make a play at running something like this. And I'm really sorry about that. So maybe this is really the only choice we have here, but I don't know if I want to support this organization as a lessee, and that's where I'm choking. Everything else is fine with me. Thanks.
Can I ask for clarification? So you're okay with the details of the lease, but not the leasee?
Well, I guess that's true, and we're subsidizing them. We're giving them reduced below market rates. So an entrepreneur in the food business, like yourself, wanting to expand into basalt, for instance, would have an unfair field to play on. You'll be paying higher rent than they will. So that's just my, I keep thinking, wait a minute, this doesn't seem particularly equitable, and we seem to be so focused on that. And this one, to nobody's fault, it's just this is the way it's been. I just wanted to call attention to it.
Can you address how these spaces become available for lease? How would a business that Greg is talking about get access to that space?
We would end up putting it out to an RFQ or an RFP and going through a public process to see what kind of interest is out there.
Similarly to what we just did for Harvest for
Absolutely,
Hunger,
yeah.
or resulted in Harvest for Hunger. Okay. And we've not done that with this space because they are a current tenant.
Right. They've been here since 2004. We purchased the building in 2016, and we purchased their lease with the building. And when that expired, we renewed for a short period, and then now this one is expiring.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Thanks for clarifying.
So did the previous lease allow for a renewing of the lease automatically?
This one did not. The one that's expiring on the 31st of this month did not allow for a renewal. That's why we are coming back to the board.
And nobody else is interested in this space?
We did not advertise it.
Well, you make a good point, Greg.
I think we were part of that decision to not
We
advertise.
were, I think. And I'm just
Sorry.
interested in Greg's point now, looking back on that.
I'd love to see an RFP, quite honestly.
What?
Patty?
We gave direction to staff to bring it back because they'd been good tenants.
Yeah, I
To now
remember
go
that.
back on that decision with taking into light what Greg said, but we've already moved this forward and they've just put in renovations of their site, I think based on moving forward. So I'm suggesting that in the future, when the board doesn't make a decision to not go out, bring it back to the board and we can decide any of our leases if we want to go out.
Right.
I was gonna ask for one point of clarification, because I've spoken with the owner of this business, I believe, and I understand that that individual is a franchisee
Correct.
of Subway.
Mhm.
So the lease is not with Subway itself,
Correct.
if that makes you feel any better.
Well, if it's a local owner, it does make a difference.
It's a gentleman that I believe he and his wife own the business, and I think they're in their 80s, I believe, and have been operating this restaurant for a long time. I don't know to what extent you can separate a franchisee from the corporate parent in your mind, but to the extent that you're concerned that this business owner is not a member of the community and or represents a larger corporate structure, they do utilize a name and things like that, no doubt. But I believe that this is somebody there's an actual person behind this business, as I understand it.
It'd be great to know if they're local.
They're in Denver.
They're in Denver, right.
They do hire local
We talked.
local staff.
The owner lives in Denver?
Yeah, we talked about that when we decided to just move this lease forward.
Can I ask another question? Just, they haven't made improvements to the property on the assumption that we're renewing the lease already, have they?
They made the improvements before the assumption, before the lease was
up.
expired.
Right.
And if I can say, so at one point they had wanted to sell the business. They have since, that deal fell through. This lease does not allow them to sell that business. They can sell the business, but they can't.
The lease
They
doesn't
can't
go
sell
with
the
it.
lease. And so, and I made that very clear to them that if they decide to leave, that they can't, the lease isn't transferable. So that a new person can't just take over.
All of our leases generally require consent from the property owner, in this case us, for an assignment of the lease. So if the business were to be sold, it would be necessary for the new owner of the business and or the current owner to approach this board with a request to allow the assignment to take place. So there's that.
Okay.
But you have an opportunity in the future if they
could come before
pull
10
out.
years.
When does it terminate again? 34?
35, 10 years.
And as we discussed at first reading, I had put an option out there to provide an option to the current owner, meaning a typical commercial lease is often 3 to 5 years with a number of options on top of that. The options can be guaranteed and or only be effective in the event that the existing tenant is not in default or has not been in default during the previous term of the lease. That's always something this board can consider when leasing out a particular piece of property. I don't know to what extent that the 10-year term is an inducement for the existing owner to continue leasing from us, and I don't know where that number came from, but to the extent the board wants to structure the lease a little bit differently so that after 5 years you have the opportunity to reevaluate who the tenant is and then provide some additional options beyond that, that's always something the board can consider.
Greg.
I was wondering, the value of a long-term lease for a commercial property is that you actually have something to sell a new buyer. But if it can't be assigned, I'm not sure there's a lot of value in that 10-year extension, so.
I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on that. The lease may be assigned if this board approves the assignment. It would be very unusual for a commercial landlord, which is what we'd be operating as now, to not include some kind of requirement in the lease that any assignment be approved by the landlord. Because of course you don't want the existing tenant to assign a lease to somebody that's not able to meet the obligations within the lease, namely the rent. But the other obligations as well, like making sure that the property is maintained in a neat and clean, neat order and all those kind of things. I guess I'll stop right there for the moment.
I have a question about that.
Yes, Francie.
So if these current owners wanted to retire or do whatever they want to do, they're selling the name Subway. They're not selling the space or anything because we own the space, right? So it's just the franchise that they'd be selling.
The current owner is a franchisee of Subway. So my understanding, and I've only been involved with franchises a long time ago, but in order for the business to transfer to a new owner, the new owner would need to be approved by the franchisor, which would be Subway, similar to us having to approve the new tenant. And that is something that can happen. I recall what I was going to say before, so I'll just bore you further. The benefits of a long-term lease run in both directions, right? One is to the landlord it's hard to predict what's going to happen in 10 years, but now you have a guaranteed stream of income for that period of time. The benefit to the business owner, of course, is certainty, whether you're going to sell it and or invest in the business more, meaning you don't necessarily have an inducement to invest either in employees or in infrastructure for the business if your lease is going to end in 1 or 2 years. So those, there's a give and take in that instance.
Certainty.
so.
Is,
One more
yeah,
question,
sorry,
if that's
Francie.
okay.
Mhm.
And do we feel like the community is happy having a subway in Mid-Valley?
I've heard they are.
It's
I mean,
busy.
Seems like
my
we don't spend
sense-
enough money
I mean, it's
there to-
affordable for one thing. Like, I go there.
I drive up at 7 in the morning and there's already people going in. And
I'm
yeah,
sorry, what did you
Breakfast
say?
and pickup
Yeah, there
lunch.
is.
7 in the morning, there are people going in. It's busy.
Yeah, there's one in Carbondale and it's busy too, so.
But
Yeah.
the Glenwood one closed, so.
Yeah, isn't that
It was in a weird spot, though.
I guess I just maybe might suggest, if it doesn't alter the resolution too much, that perhaps could we add some sort of preference of, you know, if the ownership turns over, we would like this to go to RFP at that time or something like that. You know, it's sort of suggesting to a future board how to handle possible sale or expiration of the current lease with the current owner.
Sure.
I don't know.
I guess what I would
And I
say.
don't know if you would ever
to get-
look at this at that time and know that we've made that suggestion, but.
I might look at it. The challenge with that is typically an assignment provision when it's evaluated, like, for instance, say you didn't want to allow an assignment in the future. Generally, assignment has to be approved or disapproved based on reasonable reasons for not doing that. Meaning it's totally appropriate to not allow an assignment if the new tenant is insolvent and wouldn't be able to pay the rent. Typically, the assignment provision is not wholly absolute, although I usually draft into these leases that the approval of an assignment is wholly at the discretion of the BoCC. Whether that could ultimately hold up, it's hard to say. I would suggest that if you want to have this space be reevaluated or the opportunity for a new tenant to be reevaluated in some period of time, that you shorten the term of the lease now, because it adjusts and it makes everybody aware of the expectations. You can certainly draft into the lease that the initial term would be for a period of 5 years, and that at that point there will be an RFP or an RFQ, and if there's no responses to that the lessee may enter into a new 2 or 3 year term or something like that. So there's ways to draft it, but if you start messing around with the expectations of the lessee, I think you would need to clarify those terms in the existing lease so that they know what to count on. Meaning I wouldn't be surprised if this particular lessee, given my conversations with them in the past and where they are in their lives and in their business, would not be anticipating assigning this lease at some time in the next decade. And frustrating their ability to do that could have a major financial impact on their decision making about when and if to enter into this lease would be my guess. So I think it would be better to let them know now that this board is willing to enter into a 5-year lease, but not a 10-year lease, if that's something you all want to do.
I would support that.
Well, I guess, I mean, I still support the 10-year lease. I guess I was just trying to figure out a way that if the change is precipitated by them, then it goes to the public, as opposed to us being the precipitator of that requirement. You know, Patty?
Yeah, and I support the 10-year, and Kelly, I understand where you're trying to go, but for me, if I was the leasee, not the leaseor, I would, it would be hard if I was gonna try and sell my franchise to say, but I don't know if you're gonna have a lease. So that would maybe thwart their ability to.
Well, that's already the case.
Well, technically, but if we're putting out to RFP, that doubles the risk, to me. You still have to be approved to take over that lease, but now you have to be approved going through this broader process, rather than us just saying, let's see if the leasee is approved. We may not approve the leasee, and then it would go to an RFP. But right now, we should at least start with the first option of, you'd have to bring the new leaseholder back to us for approval, and if we chose to go with it, for whatever reasons, reasonable reasons, then we could, and then if we chose not to because we were concerned, we could then put it out for RFP anyway, right?
Yes,
we
if you choose not to renew or if you choose to not allow the assignment, then the term of the lease continues. The lease survives your rejection. So if in year 5 they come and say, I want to assign the lease, and you say no, and you have a good reason for saying no, the lease survives that request to assign, and the lessee is on the hook for the next 5 years of the lease, or for the remaining 5 years of the lease. And or they have the opportunity to breach the lease and either pay cash, or most likely we would be able to relet the space, and they'd have to cover a period of time when we were reletting.
I'm comfortable moving it forward in 10 years.
Did you have another question, Pat,
No,
or
I don't.
Francie?
There's
you?
one, do we know how many of these franchise units that they own?
I have no idea.
We don't know.
But I do hear the general direction from this board that maybe it's desirable for staff to consider putting these types of spaces out for RFPs or RFQs when the leases come to an end.
I think I'd support that. I also want to just ask for comparison, and we did a recent lease with Stubbies with, Elise and Hoddles. What are the terms on that lease? Do we have that at the tip of our tongues?
We gave them a 5-year with a 5-year renewable, I believe.
Option to
At
renew.
least one 5-year.
So they get an option to renew, and we get an
Yeah.
option
To pull out.
to pull out. I would propose that we try to make them standardized in some way within the same building.
I think that's a good suggestion.
So if we do that now, then this,
We'll have to come back.
we'd have to start over, right? Because
I made it up.
we'd have to go back to the leasee and say, does that, they could say no.
Yeah, if you're gonna change the term of the lease, then you will need to go back to the lessee, and we would want to start over with the ordinance process to approve it.
Sorry, Jody.
That's okay with me.
Well, we're not there yet. I think
No,
we're
I'm
already.
apologizing to Jody
Yeah.
for creating
for
this,
this.
bringing this up. I'm not foretelling any changes here, but I know how I'll vote.
Okay, so I'm hearing some interest over here for
Yes.
rewriting this.
I know I
pursuant
was
to
involved in
similar
saying
terms.
yes, go ahead with this sort of before, but I guess I didn't listen to you as carefully last time as I am this time, and I thought last time it was more about the amount of the lease that you were objecting to, rather than the objections you're raising today. I didn't have so
Sorry, I
much
wasn't
problem
clear
with
enough.
that,
Yeah.
but I do hear about maybe opening it up to an RFP, and 10 years away seems like a long time to wait for that. But the most compelling thing I've heard is to align it with other tenants in the same building. So yes, I'm interested in that.
Okay. Jeffrey?
I'm comfortable with moving forward with what's drafted. I think we had our opportunity to update. And while a 5-year consistent with Stubbies makes sense, I'm fine with. I'm trying to avoid a dietary joke at this point.
Okay, Patty?
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot from this conversation. I'm comfortable moving this forward, but in the future, we now have this information, and staff knows that we would like to be more careful in the time frame of the leases and the opportunities to put it out for RFP. I think the reason why we were supportive of this is because of the 20-year good history we have with this tenant, and the tenant next door we did not have good history with. We had horrible history with. So I think we were saying this tenant has been there, they're solid, we know we can count on them, and that was a benefit to us, so we're gonna give them back a benefit and acknowledging their good tenancy by doing a 10-year lease.
Thanks, Patty. I would note, I don't think Subway and Stubbies are the same. I think they are different businesses, and I think they have different use by the community. So I continue to be comfortable with this. I do want to, Patty made a motion and Francie, you seconded it. Do you wish to withdraw your second?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm okay. I do think that we should learn from this, though.
Yeah.
And Carrie, did you, sorry, I bet I didn't.
Yes.
Just, I think what the discussion
So
where the board is
patiently
going.
waiting to interject.
I think it sounds like where the board is going, you all may have a direction, and what I would suggest is maybe it's something that staff can not only look at lessons learned from this, but I think understanding criteria, because past conversations have also been about the affordability that Subway provides to the community, and there's other concerns I'm hearing coming up, so
Right.
might need to get some clarity on what are the board's goals as we look at leases. Because compared to the Schultz building, we have very clear criteria of what we're leasing out in the Schultz building. So I just wanted to kind of get that
Yeah.
clarification.
I'd like to make another comment.
Yes, go ahead.
So when we got the subway in Carbondale, it inspired Carbondale to, this is what people in Carbondale remember, that we weren't going to allow any other franchises or any other, what are they called?
Chains.
What?
Chains?
Yeah. But now we have a Qdoba that just sprang up next to City Market, and it came as a surprise to people in Carbondale. So I'm going to ask Ben what happened there, but it was disturbing. So now we have a Subway and a Qdoba. So it's just a slippery slope, this whole chain restaurant thing. And yes, they provide cheap food.
Well, and ironically, I was on the City of Aspen Planning and Zoning where we had quite a robust conversation about chains on primary serving commercial in Aspen, which is all it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
it
couldn't
is.
quite find a way to get there, and I think it's changed the character of this town quite significantly.
And we lost our McDonald's in all of that.
We also have a New York Deli, which I think is also a chain in Carbondale.
And you have a city market that's a chain, but it's not a restaurant.
City Market is rather a chain, like probably the largest outside of Walmart, maybe.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We've had excellent conversation. I will call, and did I open this for public hearing? I think I did. And then closed it and got the motion.
Yeah, maybe. I just want to let the board know that Stubby's lease actually goes through the end of 2026 with one-year renewals after that. So that would be through 28, I guess.
2 one-year renewals?
Yes. So you did an initial 3-year term followed by 2 one-year options to renew.
And for the board's purposes, the intention of that is leaving flexibility for the county about how to use that space. I think
Yeah, I
to the
remember
point is that the space for Stubbies versus Subway
It is
is
snowing outside, guys.
All right.
Yeah, and I
I
think,
recall that they were considering selling, and they didn't want to sell without a longer lease, which is why we gave them the original 5-year, and it was,
There was a lot of back and forth on that
Yeah.
one too.
And can I add?
Yes,
and,
Patty.
and the other thing was, we were considering using that space, which we've kind of put on the back burner for now. So that's why we didn't want to do a longer than 5 or 2 extensions of only 1 year, because of what if we wanted that space?
Jody,
that would
did you have
definitely be
something else?
another one that could go out for RFP.
well, I just recalled John also mentioned at the first reading that Subway, like we were never looking at that space to
use.
reconfigure or
Convert, yeah.
use like we were the other space. So that was one of his comments that he brought in.
Yeah, that was Greg who said, what if we need that space within 10 years?
Yep.
I'm going to call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Say
I'm a nay.
you're a nay. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Greg. You raised important.
I think we'll
issues.
bring a work session back anytime there's a big vacancy.
Yeah.
Make sure we can talk about it. ahead
Might
of
make it
time.
easier to
Yeah.
have a
2035.
standardization.
Okay, at 35. See you then.
mark it on your calendar.
Yeah, right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Jody.
We are on. Thank you. We're on item number 10, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between BoCC and CDOT.
Been so
Hi,
patient.
Romany. So
Thank you.
patient.
How do we know CDOT's going to be around in 5 years?
It's Colorado State.
It's Colorado,
We're
it's
not
not
getting
federal.
Colorado government, are we?
I'm being
Plus, we might have a new governor. Well, we will have a new governor.
Okay. Hi.
Romani Iacono, Land Management, here for second reading to approve an intergovernmental agreement between Pickens County Board of County Commissioners and Colorado Department of Transportation.
For weed management.
Weed
not just
management,
weed
this
management.
is to approve, we spray State Highway 133 and State Highway 82. And CDOT reimburses us $20,000 per fiscal year. This is a 5-year
For what?
contract.
$20,000 what?
Per fiscal year, I apologize.
Okay, questions? Romany?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Are we preparing for a big weed season?
Every year is a big weed season.
Well, last year we had so much rain that we were anticipating all this. And this year, we don't have.
Yeah, we'll
except
be
for-
lucky to have weeds this year.
I know, we,
Oh, we'll
yeah.
definitely have weeds. They,
That's what I was getting at. Are we going to be lucky to have weeds this year?
We might have thistle and cactus.
Should we be promoting weeds rather than trying to kill them since they're so
Since
drought
it-
tolerant?
yeah, exactly. Well, maybe
Exactly.
we will.
And they prevent erosion.
Okay, that, yeah. But seriously, last year we were very worried because we knew we were going to have a proliferation of growth, be they weeds or not weeds.
4 to 5
Right.
degrees.
Now it's going to be really dry and we'll have a proliferation of growth, most likely. It's just bare everywhere.
It's the wrong growth. Okay, thank you.
All right, let me open the public hearing on this item, an IGA with CDOT for noxious weed management. Come on, folks, where are ya?
We bored them.
Yeah. All right. Not seeing any. I will close the public comment and look for a motion from the board.
So moved.
I'll make a motion
Go ahead, let her do it.
to
Okay.
approve the resolution I'm approving the resolution which is approving an intergovernmental agreement between the BoCC and the Colorado Department of Transportation.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Francine. Greg, any further discussion?
I
All in-
intend to vote yes.
Oh, wonderful. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for waiting.
All right, last item, regular item for the day, resolution approving public usage and related fees of the county electric vehicle chargers.
Next victim.
Oh, Public Works heavy day today, huh?
We like having that
Hi,
present.
Matt.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Matt Bergsister, I'm the fleet manager. Today we have the second reading to approve the public usage of our county chargers. One county charger in particular, Public Works.
And we're gonna charge them for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Charge them to charge. That sounds so redundant.
Very ironic, isn't it?
Overcharge them for it.
Competitively charge for the premium product.
There you go, I like that. All right.
Questions?
Since you waited all day, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Commissioning done. You'll be on
Commissioning's
the
done.
charge
We're
point
online.
app.
Did some test charging this morning, last night. Everything's working. Credit card's working. The app is working. Just got to put it to the public and let them see it on the app.
Yeah.
Let Jeffrey go first.
When can we see it on the map?
I don't know the time frame once we make it live, but I would imagine probably 48 hours.
And will Public Works put in a left turn or EV sign on the highway so we know there's actually a charger there, or it's just through the map?
They use their maps.
Or through the app?
Intent
sorry.
was probably just going to be
Just through
the app. Yeah, I mean, it would be on multiple apps. PlugShare will have a charge point, stuff like
It's
that.
a charge point charger, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
A lot of
okay.
people
That's
making a left turn
They
there
seem
could be a
pretty
problem.
reliable.
Yeah, we don't want people
But
turning in
it'll,
and out there.
it'll
anyway.
give you the availability, so that's the good news, so.
They don't have to put a signal in there for all the people that are coming in to use that charger.
I don't think the demand is going to be as high as you think. We're kind of like an interim where we want people to maybe charge on their way home, grab that little bit of juice to be able to get themselves home and charge at a different rate at their house.
So we're gonna have traffic congestion at Service Center Road trying to get in and out.
It starts there every morning at 7 a.m. So
I mean, coming in and out, coming on the road itself.
The good news for the board is if we have a problem, we'll be bringing this back to the board for reconsideration, so.
We can't wait.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I just saw some stats that may have come from CDOT or from you guys. I can't remember now, but Colorado's goal is to have 940,000 EVs on the road by 2030. That's in 5 years. Currently, we have 178,546 EVs on the road. So it's about a 5-fold increase is what they're anticipating. That's 31, currently that's 31 EVs per 1,000 people statewide. Pitkin County already has 60 EVs per 1,000 people. So we've got twice the state average already. So it makes sense to be building out the charger network because we've got early adopters here and people who can, take the risk of buying an EV or the financial plunge because they are more expensive to buy if not operate. I just thought that was pretty interesting. So right now we've got 879 EVs on the road in Pitkin County. Expect that to grow by, I don't know, 3 to 6 times in the next 5 years.
Depending upon the world economies and trade deficits and tariffs. I would like to see what that number is in a year.
Santa can bring me an EV. I'll take it. All right. Let me open the. Did you have a question?
Just a comment and a thank you again, because there's really no high-speed charger between Highland and Glenwood today. So thank you for doing this, and thanks for bringing it forward.
And I need to open the public comment on this before we take a motion. Is there any public comment on EV charging? Seeing none, I will close the public comment and look for a motion from the board.
So moved.
Thank you, Greg.
Move to approve.
Move to
Second.
approve the resolution approving public usage and related fees for county electric vehicle charging. Motion by Greg, second by Francie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm looking
Thanks for
forward
the
to
hard
using
work
it.
on that. Can't wait to try it.
We'll be
We'll
ready
let
for you.
Jeffrey do it first.
Fair enough. Thank you guys.
All right,
He
and
parks at
so
Brush Creek
we
Intersection,
are
rides the bus.
moving
You'll have to
into
go up there
open
and charge it.
discussion,
You'll have to get on
and
it.
we,
Public Works.
Oh, sorry.
we don't we are having a citizen board interview for our Healthy Rivers and Streams. Our candidate, can't meet with us on Tuesdays, so we are doing this today, even though normally we do this during work sessions. And so, hi, let me invite Charlotte Anderson. on it.
There's no open discussion?
Oh, we can have more open discussion, but our first item for open discussion is to interview K.O. Ogilvy.
I know, but I have to recuse.
Okay, so do you
So
want?
I'm gonna go home if there's no open discussion.
Oh,
We'll have open
we'll have
discussion
other open
after that.
discussion. Can you just wait 15 minutes?
Yeah, but it was on the schedule for before this.
We're
Which was not
way
an
ahead of schedule, though.
accident.
It's only 3 o'clock. This won't take long. We could go for a
Okay.
walk.
Thank you, Francie.
Well,
I can
that
text
didn't
you
work.
when we're done. Okay, and thanks. Francie is recusing because of personal connections to the applicant. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi. Thank you all for moving things around a little bit. No, this is not normal to do it during a regular meeting, but thank you for working with KO's schedule, and thank you for KO to jump on and kind of wait until you all were finished.
I think you need to maybe make that Amelie Ogilvy, I'm guessing is, okay.
If you want to take the invitation to be promoted to a panelist, then we'll be able to see you on the screen.
He says he's in.
And if not, that's okay too.
There we go.
There you go.
Hi. All right, Charlotte, go ahead. Hang on one sec. We're going to have Charlotte just introduce the status of their interview process.
Okay, so KO has applied for the vacancy on the Healthy Rivers and Streams Board. You all have interviewed several applicants, and you have one applicant after this, Sam Cox, who will be back in town next week, and we'll interview him. So all applications have closed, and so I will let you go ahead and ask your questions of KO.
Okay, great. Hi, KO. Nice to see you. Thank you for your interest in joining the Healthy Rivers and Streams Board. Generally, we conduct these interviews by inviting you to talk about your interest in the board and any connection to your work that it does. And then we go around and commissioners ask some questions. And then because we do have a number of candidates, we will have some discussion as a board at a future date after our last interview and then decide who we are going to appoint. And Charlotte will keep you informed, if that all sounds good.
That sounds good. Thanks so much for accommodating me in your meeting today.
Nice to see you. Go ahead. Tell us what your interest.
Yeah, great. I live and teach at CRMS in Carbondale. I teach biology and geology. I coach kayaking, run trips at CRMS. Fly fishing is a big part of my life. Pitkin County Healthy Rivers has played a big role in my biology curriculum over the years. I love doing problem-based learning, and so we have, one of the problems we tackled was relocating some ospreys in my biology curriculum. We've tackled Cattle Creek and water quality on Cattle Creek, geothermal studies in the kind of journey of Avalanche Ranch, which is my family's hot springs as well. So connected to rivers through teaching biology and young people, connected through rivers through kayaking and my passion there. My journey with rivers began with my dad, Chuck Ogilvy, who has also served on the Pitkin County Healthy Rivers Board. Growing up with him, he's been a water activist for my entire life and beyond. And so the river stewardship that he instilled in me at an early age has been something that I've held near and dear. And so this, I guess my interest in serving on this board is to both continue down that road of river stewardship, to play back the generosity that I've received through Healthy Rivers in my curriculum and my journey with students, and to continue to be actively engaged in the broader Roaring Fork watershed community and caring for the rivers that are such a critical piece of our well-being, whether that be my family, my ranching, Avalanche Ranch, or teaching. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for the well-being of our watersheds.
Great, thank you. Questions from board members? Patty, we'll just go around. Patty, Greg, and then I'll go.
Hi, Kale, it's Patty Clapper. It's nice to meet you. I don't know if you fish with my son at all. He's out of Carbondale, and he's on the river more than he's anywhere else in his life, and he loves it. I think your resume is pretty remarkable, all of the things you've done and the places you have been. My really question for you is your availability of time. What days, I'm looking at Lisa.
Thursday.
What days do they meet? Thursday evenings, late afternoon. Will that work in your schedule?
That's thanks for bringing up that question. And so the first thing I did with this opportunity is I went to our head of school, Jeff Leahy, and Sierra Jacober. So Francie recruits herself because we are family, who Sierra runs our outdoor program, to see if being able to leave part of my Thursday obligations in the active program once a month was even an option. And Sierra and I sat down with the calendar I kind of built out based off of what it looked like those Thursdays were going to be. And the answer is yes, that it looks like that's going to work. And I will miss a couple because of CRMS trips and obligations, and then potentially here and there for travel in the summer as well. So I guess one of the questions I have too is, what's an acceptable amount to miss? It looks like I can be there the bulk of the time, but there will be a couple that I would have to miss during the year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great, Greg.
Yeah, great. Yeah, Gail, thanks for applying. This is really great to have you here and learn more about you. My biggest question is, do you think you'll, I'm not sure you spend enough time on the river already, but it's like, I want to join the kayak team. How do will this get me an in?
There we go.
It just occurred to me, you're uniquely qualified, I think, in many ways. And so I just want to say thank you for stepping up for this. And I think the time commitment is one that you can handle. And I would, it doesn't seem, I don't know, it doesn't seem like an onerous number of meetings. I just want to assure you, I don't think it's a problem. I don't know what you have in terms of people, being tardy or absentee Is there a cutoff? Is there a 3 times near out or something? What's the?
I'd have to look at the bylaws and, I don't know.
It's 2 meetings and. Do you want to come up? Come on up, Lisa.
Come on up.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Ko. Good to see you. Yeah, if I recall correctly, it's 2 meetings, and then you can kind of get yourself in a little bit of a pinch. But I think, it's not a hard, fast line. But we do try to say, try not to miss more than 2 meetings. But that does happen. So, but it's not you're automatically out. That part I do recall.
Well, good. I can go back and double check that list and just make sure that between summer travels and then curricular meetings that I'll miss, that it's not onerous, and I can send that back to Lisa right away and just make sure that is going to work.
Great. Well, thanks for that. I hope it works out.
Hi, Ko. Nice to see you. I don't know if you remember flying with me for Wild and Scenic
Yes, absolutely. Great to see you.
Yeah, likewise. I wondered, in your opinion, what is the most pressing issue on the rivers that we should be addressing in the Healthy Rivers program?
That's a great question. I would say that in the West, diversions, keeping water in the river continues to be, to me, the top of the list. Making sure that there's water in the streams for the ecosystems that continue to need them, and with the continued challenge that we'll continue to be facing with that, I would put that as the top of the list. I guess secondarily too, with climate change and climate, water temperature is something that I think of quite a bit, both macroinvertebrates and trout, and then continued development and managing runoff and impingement of human development. Those would be kind of 2 things that would follow in my mind.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll go to Jeffrey.
So thank you for that answer. My question was very similar to Kelly's, and the joy of going to last is you sit there and say, nope, can't ask that one. We just met with Rick LaFaro, and he was advising everyone to carry thermometers and get out of the water the second time, the second it hit 68 degrees. So I appreciate that. I'm going to give you a slightly different fastball, I guess, which is, what if your students were here right now, what would they say differently? So I appreciate the impact on invertebrates and carrying the thermometer, but what are the students saying? What is their biggest concern about healthy rivers today?
That's a great question. I love it. I would hope after they've taken my biology class and such that some of the answers would be the same.
Oh no.
I think that man, I guess I would answer that one of the things I've gotten to do, I run the environmental club at CRMS, and each year we go down to the Capitol and they learn how to lobby for bills that they care about. And when I listen to them, their fears have to do with the loss of the environments that are written in their hearts and in their well-beings. And I'm just always in awe on how keenly they understand the link to their mental health, their well-being, and an ability to get out into natural spaces, and the natural spaces, the role that those play in all of our well-being. And so I'm pretty blown away with how clearly they see that, and how dear they hold these spaces, and getting them to see that, like vocalize that to state senators and our representatives is always, I'm pretty inspired and awed.
Thank you.
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question with a great answer.
Other questions for Kale? Right.
Just wanted to point out that for Mr. Ogilvy's edification, you can miss 3 meetings before the chair tries to remove
Okay.
you.
Always listen to an attorney
To
first.
contrast with the P&Z, you can miss 7 meetings at the P&Z,
Wow.
but they meet a lot more.
meet a lot
so
more.
there's that. Anyway.
Thank you. All right, Kale, thank you. This was great. Nice to see you, and we will keep you posted.
Yeah, it's good to meet you.
Great. Nice to meet you all. Thanks so much.
All
Really
right.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and you too.
Great. Take care.
Bye.
For me or for you?
No, is Francie still out there?
I just texted her, so she'll head back in.
That was really helpful.
And then
So it's hard to remember.
We just changed it.
we'll just give Francie a moment
Call,
to
or
join
good
us.
recruit.
And let me just sort out who has open discussion, just to get a sense of. Do you have some? Kara doesn't have any.
I
We
do.
had some from yesterday, I thought.
I have one thing.
And Jeffrey may have. Do you have any open
I just want
discussion?
to bring up Emma,
Okay.
just if there's anything we need to.
I'm just getting a sense of like.
Emma's the
what-
only thing that'll be on my list of,
Okay.
is there anything we need to prepare? Do we have the right people coming to the Emma caucus on Saturday at 3 p.m.?
Well, hang on. Let's wait for Francie because she will be interested in that
Francie's going, you're
conversation.
going,
I'm not going
is
to be
it
there.
this Saturday?
Saturday at 3 p.m., open discussion.
Patty, did you have any open discussion to bring
No,
up?
no, no, I was just talking about Emma, but I just wanted to, so I know Francie's on her way, but, because Jeffrey, you're planning to go, right?
Yeah.
we
And
don't
my
have
question
it
for the board
noticed.
was, do we have the people?
I know,
yeah.
but I'm wondering if I'm gonna go. We're
Well, we
noticed.
don't have it noticed.
It is
Are we-
noticed.
It should be noticed.
It was noticed on the agenda. There was 3.
Oh, yesterday's? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There was
Just
the
in
water.
case, I will
Emma,
be
and
at soccer jamboree.
Oh, the Watershed Summit is
So I'm-
canceled, sadly.
Yeah.
I was gonna try to go.
Yeah, me too.
Hello. Okay, so we are just starting open discussion. We have a handful of items. Thanks for your patience, Francie.
And I'm still here.
And you're still here, and I might hitch a ride with you. Emma caucus on Saturday. It has been noticed, and we're getting a sense of who plans to go. I do not.
I'm going.
I'm going. Jeffrey?
Jeffrey's going and I might, so it's noticed if I show up, it's fine.
It's usually a pretty nice potluck.
It's a good group.
It's nice, and it's my district.
It's a lighter fare this time, I think.
Is anyone from staff going?
So at this
2050.
time, I'm going. I can chat
present on
to present
2050.
on Vision 2050, and that is all I'm aware of from staff. I don't know if there are others.
So,
Go ahead.
so Parker is presenting emergency preparedness and traffic, and wildfire preparedness is being presented by Scott Thompson and Angie Davlin.
That's on their
Correct.
agenda.
Wonderful.
Are you going?
I was not going because I thought I was leaving town, but I'm not leaving town, so I will be here on the 20th and 22nd. I'll be here.
Oh, you
But
will?
I'm not sure if I'm going to go on Saturday, but it's on my calendar
Feel like
now. and if
we
I
can all go.
I'm so glad you're going to be here on the 22nd.
Me
That's
too.
great.
Me too.
Maybe I'll bake something to bring for everyone.
Yeah,
What?
Kelly's going to bake something.
This will be the first
It was a choice
Emma
between
caucus
going
I've been
to, Sardinia or
without
staying
John
here
Neely.
and with all of you.
You really should
And
go
I
to
made the right
Sardinia.
choice.
It's his caucus.
Who is everyone but Patty going to be at EOTC tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I will find out how I can watch it, because Grassroots does
Gotta
film
put
it,
my
right?
alarm
From
on for
Snowmass,
that.
yes.
Yes, Snowmass.
I
It'll
have
be
to go
via
through
the
the
Snowmass.
Snowmass web, so maybe somebody can find me the link and I can watch it.
Absolutely.
All right, what other?
Not live, but watch it another time.
Kara doesn't have any open discussion. I think the open discussion brought to my attention was the 2 proclamations, one requesting us to proclaim the month of June in support of LGBTQIA
What?
issues.
There was another proclamation they wanted to declare the whole month of June, right?
I never saw that one.
Me either.
Well, it was just told to me. I don't know if it's buried in my email.
No, we got
I
an
don't
email
know.
or something, or I saw something in writing.
I don't remember seeing
Jeffrey, can
anything.
you speak to
Oh,
this?
someone
So
sent us an
it
email.
was sent on May 7th, and it was sent by Ashley Stahl.
Thank you.
With
Oh, here
the
we go.
cookinclusive.org.
inclusive dot, what?
It's in your inbox from May 7th.
So
And what-
a quick overview. So Cook Inclusive is a nonprofit organization working to advance disability and LGBTQIA+ from Aspen to Parachute. And they have requested a proclamation recognizing June 2025 as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month.
For where? For the state of Colorado?
For
our
Picken
valley?
County. For Picken
Similar
County.
to like we declare
Child-
responder, emergency responders week, things like that. Month of the child.
Well, I'm a little concerned about how we are standing out for our DEI and immigration welcoming and all of that, and the federal government trying to collect data about people just like us, places just like us, and not that I wouldn't want to do this normally, I don't know, I'm torn between standing up and fighting and staying under the radar.
I tend to agree with that because when I went to Washington, everything was do what you need to do, but be careful on how you do it because we don't want to draw more attention. Not that we don't want to stand up for all of these issues that we believe in, but at the same time, how many more hits can we take to our things like the produce project for the seniors, or public health, or immunization
Or
programs,
grant assurances.
mental health. Granted, but some of the other things near and dear to our heart, and even some of our funding that we need for unfunded mandates. All of those things being hit, and there's so many things we can absorb for a year to try and fund them ourselves, or we're going to have to come to the point where we're going to have to cut things, and I really don't want to go there. So I don't know how we find that balance,
I don't
and
either.
I think, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel bad even saying it.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Can I make a suggestion? Can staff take this and maybe look and work with some of our grant consultants and look at the wording in this? Because I think if I'm hearing where the board is, this is still a value that's important with us. Yeah, it still is a value of the county, but there's concerns about how it could come across, and maybe we can check in with some of our lobbyists or those that are giving advice on grant assurances and get input of where that may sit.
And see if they've reached out to anybody else, and if they've written proclamations that we could look at what language they used.
Greg.
Yeah, I was going to suggest what Patty said is that it'd be nice to know who else is what other organizations or communities have done this. How did they word it? Did they designate an entire month? Did they do a week or a day? Or it'd be just nice to know what else is happening. In general, I'd support it, and I'd probably go out on a limb and say yes, full speed ahead on this. But I also appreciate the sentiments and the concerns about the board. It's a sensitive time. It always comes up at a sensitive time, right? That this seems to be
That's when they need help.
Right, it's when they need it.
Mhm.
In general, I would say I don't want it to seem like I do not support this anyway. It's just we have to find the right way to frame it and put it out there, and hopefully with some sort of synchronicity and unification with everyone else who's doing this.
I hope we do it. I think it's something we probably should have been doing every month, every year for a long,
Seriously.
long time. And, we have colleague counties who hang pride flags, for the month of June and are far more outwardly expressed in their support than we've ever been.
Who? I don't know about them. I don't know who they are.
Oh,
It'd be nice to have a list just to know who's doing
sure.
it. Yeah.
Is it a gay month, a gay pride month across the country and other places?
It's culturally celebrated in the month of June. Absolutely.
Let's just find out what our grant people,
Denver
and
has
they
a
may
pride
say.
parade. The pride parade in New York. There's
Mhm.
it is a month of celebration.
And apparently you
And I
can't
just
fly
think,
flags like that anymore either.
as much as we may feel stressed out from a privileged position, I think we have staff and members of our community that are bearing the brunt of this exclusion.
Well, I completely agree.
intimately on a daily basis, and I would like to support them. But I'm okay with further research
Yeah,
and
I think
evaluation
that's what
on
we should
this,
do.
and I'm
Thanks,
happy
Kara,
to
that was a good idea to.
get all of our other colleagues who do this.
I mean, for myself, of course I would support it,
Yeah.
but, I think we need to.
I just think our
I don't-
reputation precedes us, and if they want to hold money back for things they don't like Picken County for, they don't need this resolution upon which to make that
Plenty of other
justification,
reasons.
We have a long history of, progressive policy.
Where did
that-
we go the other day in talking about the welcoming resolution? Did we
have
ever
not
go
brought-
anywhere? We didn't go anywhere with it? I don't think we did.
We're leaving it as is.
Yes,
Untouched.
as is.
We like the way it was written.
I'm sorry, I think you had your hand up.
I was going to add that I think if we take this back to business.
Back to what?
Back to business. From a proclamation standpoint, what we really got charged about when we did the David Tanner, John Peacock letter was really what's the impact on our business, and I think part of this, so part of part of this community and part of the community calendar is Kevin McMahon's program and the folks it brings to the state and to the valley. And so I think,
What is the Kevin McMahon program?
so Kevin's responsible for Aspen Out and is responsible for Gay Ski Week.
Gay Ski Week, mhm.
And so to me, if we're going to take positions or stands and we can tie them back to the business drivers, I think that's more comfortable than a social comment or we're aligning or not aligning with someone's values, but really saying, look, these are the economic drivers and this is what our 25 and 26 business looks like. I think it seems to me this board could get around without taking a broader view socially.
Well, making a whole month an LGBTQ something else month is way broader
than just supporting Gay Ski Week.
I think we were the first people to do Gay Ski Week, weren't we? And then Vail
40
eventually
it was like
followed.
40 years ago.
Oh, I know, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Again, I think my notion was rather than have a generic proclamation, and I think it sort of leads into the saint conversation next, is how does this tie back to our community and our community values? And if there are, 40 years of history, then that's a stronger proclamation. I feel that when the board's done a really good job writing either proclamations or support letters, we've rewritten it to meet our community needs. So whether that was through Firehawk or through bonding or, it's not taking the generic off the shelf. Here you go, put it in a frame, and please recite this on June 1.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is Gay Ski Week is in January. So, and
It is snowing, could be.
that's right, it is. It could be January, the year moved by fast. So, yeah, I think just see what we can come up with and bring something back to us that we can all be comfortable with.
Thanks
On
for
both
that
sides.
suggestion, Kara.
Thank you. Great. All right, and then do we want to revisit? I understand there was some conversation yesterday about Albert Schweitzer proclamation designation.
Thanks for bringing it up.
I haven't had a chance to read it. I know y'all wanted me to read it. Go ahead.
I brought it to the board. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I brought this to the board yesterday after showing it to John Peacock last week, and I think I mentioned it a week or two ago. A group is formed, including people from Aspen Chapel, Community Church, Historical Society, others, people who work for the Aspen Institute, myself, Aspen Public Arts people, that we would like to recognize the 70th year anniversary of Albert Schweitzer coming to Aspen and kicking off the Goethe Bicentennial and what became the Aspen Institute for Humanistic Studies. And his lecture was inspiring, and it was kind of seminal in that it helped shape Aspen's development and renaissance as a cultural center. He was here on the 200th anniversary of Goethe, so this would be Goethe's 275th anniversary, which he was speaking about. It would be his 150th birthday this year and the 75th of his coming to Aspen. He was brought here to give the speech all the way from Lamborghini in Africa, in Central West Africa. And he did it because they raised some money to support his clinic there, his operations. And to this day, there are still Schweitzer clinics around West Africa doing his work. And so several of us thought, wouldn't it be great to celebrate him and the incredible influence he had on early Aspen, and maybe try to reinvigorate this idea of humanism and service and philanthropy as a foundation of our community and remind and inspire people. So that's where it came from. So it's happening. July 1st, it's happening. It may be a 1 or maybe even a 2-day event. He was a Bach scholar and an author on Bach, and he was an organist, and so there will be a short organ concert by a Bach scholar and organist at the community church. We've got a keynote speaker who's coming in who is a contemporary like Albert Schweitzer, and that he's, Dr. Withers started a global international street medicine institute that takes care of homeless people. He says he's on 6 continents now and has about 1.5 million patients and legions of doctors who volunteer. So he's kind of like a modern day equivalent. He's coming to give a keynote. We have Paul Anderson, coincidentally, has his new book on Albert Schweitzer coming out this summer, and so we'll do a book release and book talk. So it'll be an afternoon and then maybe another evening, or maybe it all squeezes into one day. Part of that was to ask if we could put a proclamation forward, and in the city as well, designating an Albert Schweitzer Day or an Albert Schweitzer Day of Service, because the whole idea is to inspire humanism, empathy, compassion, empathy being a really important word right now. So that's where that was the provenance of it. And so I thought, I want to bring it forward, and I was told I have to share it with you in order to even get it on Charlotte's agenda. So the message, the question was, does this have enough merit that we could give it to Charlotte to structure into a proclamation, which we could then consider to support or not? And then the city will go through the same process. The event's going to happen regardless. The city, I think, will be encouraged to support it regardless. And so I'm asking our board to support it as well. I don't think there's a downside. It's not a difficult ask. That's what I'd like to do.
Thanks.
Well said.
Patty?
I've said it so many times.
As I said yesterday, by history, it's very unusual for the board to proclaim a day for anyone, especially a day in perpetuity, which we were being asked. We proclaim it as the day. It's not just a proclamation. I support doing a proclamation, and I would definitely support us doing the proclamation here in this room, and then having Greg present it at one of these events. You can determine with the group that you're organizing these events with, and read it there also to show Pickens County's support. But as far as proclaiming a day in anyone's name, that's a big, then are we gonna, because we had a lot of people that have done amazing things to create this community up here and valley-wide, actually. So we'd have, every day would be someone's day, and if that's where we wanted to go. But I'm just not comfortable doing a day and then every year having that day. I think doing a proclamation here is very appropriate again, and having Greg read it at the event would be perfect.
Well, I'm going to withdraw my suggestion for Patty K. Clapper Day.
Yeah. Can I make a
It's
note?
July 31st. I've already done that. My mother had something to do.
After our conversation the other day, and Dora said, I just videotaped the city council meeting where we declared Bobby Mason Day, which that proclamation was done.
Bobby Mason, the musician?
Yeah, we now have Bobby Mason Day. The city council just did it like 3 days ago.
Can we have a distinction though? Like this, the way I read this is the same way I read all of our proclamations of like this moment in history being July 1st, 2025 is that day.
Instead of every year.
Yeah.
It was presented
because
yesterday.
this is why we proclaim Emergency Responders Week every year for the same week. Like that, we do it every year. We don't,
We don't do it once and say it's going to be
Yeah.
this every year.
Like we're not adding it to the county calendar, right?
Although
So I
we
don't know,
should.
so I guess.
I would propose we do
mean,
add it to the county calendar.
Okay, so there's the distinction I was looking to suss out. I'm great with doing this proclamation. I'd proudly read it.
Come and read it at the event, being the
It
chair.
resonates with me and my point of view in the world. But, I think it just should be a proclamation for the day that we're celebrating him on July 1st, 2025. Other thoughts?
Point well taken, Patty. That's Patty's point also.
Yeah.
Well, I think Albert Schweitzer is very special, and, I'm 77 years old, and I've known about him my entire life. And he was presented as a hero when I was a child. So I am in favor of the proclamation, and I don't have a strong opinion on whether it should be repeating every year as the day at this point.
Well, yeah, can I make just to clarify, part of the intent of this, celebrating him is a great excuse also to just celebrate what has become the legacy and the history in our community of service, volunteerism, and philanthropy. Well, people who don't give money here also give a lot of their time, as everybody knows. Everyone's a volunteer. I would say it traces all the way back to that first event and all the events that spun out of it that required so much volunteerism and giving on the part of our community. So it's trying to inspire service and philanthropy and giving, because that's the kind of community we are. And so it would be an annual thing. I don't think we need to read a proclamation every year, although that would be something I'd be willing to do. It's not necessary. But I did want to try to instill, and thank you for pointing out, at your age and my age, I grew up with him as a hero as well. But the current generation, younger generation, has
They have
no
idea,
They
right.
never heard of him, right? They haven't heard of even of John Denver.
They
we've got
barely
a
know who Martin
problem.
Luther King Jr. was.
Well, so.
Or Bobby Mason.
That's what we're trying to, that's the issue we're trying to address. And that's how this has all come together so easily because everyone loves it so much. So that's the provenance, and I think the value and the importance of having an annual reminder. And we do have Pitkin County Cares, which is great, and I'll invoke Schweitzer then too, if I can. But, and we have our county employees, the banners on Main Street for the month of public employees, great. It's always a great reminder and an inspiration to the community, and maybe young people will pick it up and realize how important it is to practice compassion and empathy and service. And
Can I say something more?
Yes.
So at CCS, we didn't, I don't know what they do now, but when I was there, Carbondale Community School.
when she uses acronyms, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's okay.
I corrected myself, sorry. We did not take MLK Junior Day off because we figured it was more important to educate our kids about who he was. And so part of the day was learning about him and learning about the civil rights movement. The kids were always shocked that it occurred in my lifetime. They thought it was ancient history. And then the other part of the day was service, that we would go out in the community and do service. So that was a really nice thing, and I could see something like that happening up here with Albert Schweitzer Day of Service. So I'm
Then it needs
not
to
sure
go.
still.
Okay,
it'll
well,
have to come
all we
back
have
to
to
us.
decide right now is July 1st, 2025. I don't think we have to decide.
That's all we have to decide, right. The day,
perpetual
and for her to bring it back to us.
celebration every year.
And if it's such a big hit, we can bring it back next year.
That's right. I like it.
Well, I can go with that, and Francie, I think your point is well made, but the schools aren't involved in this. It's
They will be.
churches for the most part.
No, schools will be involved. Schools will be involved.
I didn't see that when you mentioned it. You said it was the Aspen Chapel and.
Oh,
Right,
churches?
I mentioned them, but we have a school teacher who's involved and intends to teach a course on it.
And you?
I mean, again, I'm fine celebrating humanists in 2025.
We could leave it at that for now.
Okay. Have we resolved? How do you look?
Oh, and full
Not
disclosure, I have
It's
Schweitzer
just
books on red on my
Personal
shelf.
agendas, and we need to stop that.
Is it my personal agenda you're
Yeah,
upset
right.
about?
Well, yeah, we talked about it in our working agreement, which is a
Patty,
bigger
I think it-
discussion.
I mean, sorry, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
I think he's a part of Aspen. I think his bust is on the Aspen Institute campus. It kind of looks like a Giacometti, but I think it's Schweitzer.
So I think
It's quoted on our building.
It's in Pepke Park.
I don't have a problem with that. It's just, we need to be careful when we all bring our, we work as a board and we work.
Were you done?
I think it is an Aspen agenda, though. I think it's appropriate for where we live and who we should celebrate. So I don't read it as a Greg proclamation.
I don't
Now,
understand
Patty
what
Cake
happened just
Clapper
now.
Day.
No,
That's a different
don't worry,
thing.
I won't be bringing that forward, and I try not to bring forward things that are just my personal issues, because we have talked about that in our working
Can I-
agreements, that
okay,
we would not do that. So it's fine, I will support it, better stop now or I won't, but I can support it as a 1 day, declaring it for July 1st, and have Charlotte, Francie almost said, I'm looking at it, have Charlotte formatted into a regular proclamation, and I would really like for Greg to read it at one of the events, or Kelly, but
Thank you. I'm going to move us on in the
Sounds like we have
Sharon
consensus.
to retain peace. We're
Kara,
going
is that
to.
consensus?
What,
I think
where are
there's
we?
clear direction.
Okay.
from
The direction is to have a proclamation for July 1st, 2025 as the Albert Schweitzer Day of
Okay.
Service. And
And
I
to
don't know
assure-
if this is
yeah.
the final or if you want to
No,
add
that-
more
no,
to this.
she's gonna play
Okay,
with it.
we're gonna-
Just to assure you all.
We should have John write this. This is a Professor John Peacock task.
Maybe so.
he's the one who came up
Good
with the
idea.
quote for the wall.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
We didn't even see it till it was up
I
there.
just handed it to Charlotte, say, if you think you need to clean it up to make it fit, please do. Paul Anderson wrote that, by the way.
was giving you
I
credit
wanted to
for it.
say that when this comes back on the 25th, it's not gonna be me bringing it forward, it will be other people. Just because I'm here today, because I'm sitting here, but when it comes to,
So they
I
want to
think
be
there will-
publicly,
there'll
will
be people
acknowledge
here
their
to-
efforts and announce the plan for July 1st.
Well, you were very well spoken and you sold me.
well, thank you.
Okay.
It's nice
And
to
I-
be compelling at times.
In the spirit of just sort of keeping the peace, I'm going to move us on. Are there other open discussion items for today? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved, seconded.
All right, Francie, Greg, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Kelly, you want to ride?
I'd love a ride.